Hi, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the shit show that is the Wheel of Time TV program
You're
or
partly
Amazon
kind
Prime
describing it that way.
program. Sorry, I'm no one to be biased, but I'm biased. But,
So we're joined by Colin, who hasn't read the
Second
books.
guest.
Greetings, folks.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Colin. So, us two grumpy old, we've read the books and we know better. You can temper it by telling us what you think of the program.
Well, the grumpy and the old bit, I'm afraid you're not going to get any resistance to that from me. Grumpy and old is definitely me as well.
That's the best way to be. The way
Absolutely right.
Yeah. I got trained by my father, who got trained by his father.
Yep,
It was
it was good. It was good enough for both the TV series and eventually a spin-off of Grumpy Old Women. So
yeah, exactly. And I'm married one. I'm glad she's actually talking to her friend, which means she's not in this part.
Yeah, just hope she doesn't watch the
Yeah,
catch the rewatch.
yeah, definitely. But so where will we start? Hold on a wee sec. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on.
So I think we can start with, if we let you lead a little bit, Colin, because you've seen the TV show, and then we can add in where we see this may be coming from the source material.
Oh, thanks. If I'm going to have trouble leading it later on tonight. Well,
I suppose first things first, Colin. Have you watched the first 3 episodes?
Yes, I watched episode 3. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I skimmed through episode 3 again this evening or this afternoon to remind me.
Right. So if we begin with Nynaeve's miraculous recovery, should I call it that?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Dragged off, disappeared, and then, well, we know she's going to come back at some point, don't we? Of course she is.
Well, she basically, she got dragged off in the first episode, and she turned up at the end of episode 2, and it tells you about in episode 3 how she managed to track them. Although it didn't tell you that, it told you how she
not the
managed to
tracking,
survive.
the actual getting away.
Yeah. See, the thing is, they're starting to mix it up now. They're actually starting to mess around. In the book, Nynaeve isn't adopted by the previous wisdom. She was born, brought up by her mum and dad in the 2 rivers, and her dad taught her to track. So because they've actually turned around and says she was brought in, she was adopted by the wisdom, which implying she didn't have her mum and dad, and then when they ask her how she tracked them, she can't tell them that her dad taught her because he didn't have a son. So she's better than most of the boys her age, or the men her age, because her dad was the best tracker and he taught her everything. So they can't do that now. So when he says, "How did you track us?" she can't explain it because the books have a reason why she did it. The TV show hasn't.
Well, I must admit, I mean, to be quite honest, I don't remember a great deal about what the backgrounds were for any of the characters, to be quite honest. I mean, I didn't dislike the show, but I don't think it's one I necessarily want to go back and rewatch. But then I watched the first 4 episodes of Game of Thrones because that was how many came on the disc when I rented it. And was that uninterested, I didn't pick it up afterwards.
Yeah, I was the same. I didn't watch. I think I watched the first 3 or 4 episodes of Game of Thrones, and I just was not interested. So I never watched anything by that. So
you see, season 1 to 3 holds up quite well on Game of Thrones. Not too far off the book. There are some discrepancies, but already by season 2, I could tell you something was wrong, because by the time they started shooting the second season, they knew they had a smash hit on their hands. Tons of people watched the first season, yet the budget for second season, I'm doubting it was 6 figures, because they had so much epic stories to tell and all they did was do a little bit of green screen and shoot some stuff in a warehouse, whereas they could have had the big, large-scale battles that they showed you at the end of season 8, because that's how big the battle should have been. But no, they really screwed that one over. But I think it's just that incompetence that's shown through.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of it here as well. They don't know how to write it, and they've already decided to strip away anything from the background of the characters, like you pointed out.
Well, the fact is, they've aged them up. It messes it up already.
It does.
In the book, Colin, right? They're about, I would say, about 15, 16-year-olds. Maybe a wee bit older, but not much. They're basically at the cusp of being classed as adults.
Yeah.
Which is the whole
Egwene, when Rand sees her at Beltide, she's got a hair in a braid for the first time, and that's with the women's circle giving her blessing that she's of age now. So when Rand sees that, it shocks him, because this is how the person he's been promised to, and they've been promised to each other. So their kids, growing up knowing that they're more likely to be married because of that. And then the first time he sees her as the women's circle have classed her as a woman, it shocks him. But there's none of the sex in her dad's tavern, the relationships and things like that.
I think there's some things they probably have to bring in a little bit, but
see, I understand that. That's the one thing I was expecting, because I love the Wheel of Time. However, there is some parts that work in a book because it can explain a lot background and stuff like that.
Oh,
so I
definitely.
understand that certain parts need to be reined in, but when they rein in things that are unimportant, the storytelling suffers at that point.
It's one of the things why I like novelization of films and TV shows, because you'll occasionally get something in there that wasn't in, that either was left on the cutting room floor or wasn't in the thing in the first place. Yes. I mean, as a quick aside, the novelization of Day of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary special, has a bit where where there were pictures in the Black Archive of the Doctor. I'm not sure if I mentioned which one it is, but I think it's implied it's 10. Actually talking to Peter Cushing about the Doctor Who movies.
Yeah.
So they've literally in the novelization of Day of the Doctor Who movies, the Peter Cushing movies are canonized as existing in the Doctor Who universe. Yeah, so that's that sort of thing.
I know the theory. I know the lore behind it to bring it in was that someone who has met the Doctor and heard some of the stories from the companions wrote a TV show. Hence the reason why it's mixed up. So they've got parts of it, but they've got parts of it because they didn't understand the fact it was an alien. They just thought it was somebody had invented it, and that's where they went that route. And the Daleks with the Thals, and how the Thals were so peaceful, and it was decided it was done one way, whereas obviously it was during a war another time. So I've heard the theories, and it actually works within it, because yes, you can imagine somebody telling you a story of a time traveling alien where they're telling you about how they've traveled in time and they've made places in other places in Earth, and so you can see where that would work on a TV show, because that's a good idea, let's do this, and we'll do this, we'll do that. So I could understand that, but the idea behind that is really good, where they can add bits in that they couldn't show. They might be able to show a picture of a Doctor with Peter Cushing, and then that is it, just so it means the viewer can go, oh, I saw that, I wonder what that's about. Whereas in the book they can explain it a bit more detail.
I mean, that's what I said. I mean, I'm thinking that, as you said, I mean, we saw Nynaeve. Thank you. Actually, I couldn't remember. But yeah, and okay, so we know she's there. So she's helping setting up the other girl,
Egwene.
Egwene, and then she gets bonked on the head and dragged off by the Trossachs. And my God, that's not I was going to say that's not a phrase. Trossachs and Trollocs, dragged off by the Trossachs is not a phrase you want to say. And
Exactly.
I'm not even Scottish.
If one of the guys gets dragged off by the Trossachs, that's a bit different.
So she disappears. But to that point, okay, so she was perhaps a sort of guide to Egwene, and Egwene is suddenly bereft of that influence and that guidance. Okay, good story point. You don't necessarily expect her to come. Okay, great. So you've got about, and then two episodes later, they bring her back in again, and you go, oh, okay, so she's not dead after all. And then the first 10 minutes of the next episode are a flashback, for rather than if she'd been in it a little bit longer before they took her out for a while, you might have had more impact when she disappeared.
See, the problem was with that flashback. Remember the first episode? The Trollocs were actually, as they were killing people, some of them were actually stopping to eat the person in the middle of a battle, implying the Trollocs didn't have the discipline. Yet there's a Trolloc not only dragged her off, but killed another Trolloc and ate him first.
Not only just drag off far out into the forest.
Exactly. And basically, the fact that a Trolloc dragged her for so long, it got hungry, it killed and ate another Trolloc. Unlikely with it, as in the book, the two Trollocs would have probably ate her, then they would have fought for another reason, not over the food, because they live to kill. So killing someone who's lying there, they're quite happy to do and eat, but fighting another Trolloc for what seems to be no reason so he can eat the other Trolloc when he's got food there, that's like turning around and beating somebody up for an ice cream cone when you've got a double nugget.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It was to me it was silly, and the fact that she managed to best it, hide it, steal it.
The whole bathtub scene is just absolutely ridiculous. So okay, she managed to escape to this point. Okay, I can forgive the
you don't know how
mismatch that she's dragged out into the forest. It just so happens to conveniently be close to the cave that she's been cleaning out for the longest time, as you see it in the intro. But not only does she manage to escape in there, she hides under the water and everything. And the Trolloc isn't giving up. He's stabbing the water a little bit, but he's definitely by no means found her. And she's definitely hidden. She does not need to fight it at all. And you do get, actually for once, you do get a little bit of the sense of the scale. You see how big the Trolloc is compared to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's barely reaching up to like his mid chest, yet she managed to best him really easily.
She stole its dagger, dodged and stabbed it. Really? It just seemed a wee bit convenient. But the biggest problem I had was with Nynaeve herself. In the book, Nynaeve is strong-willed. She's one of the best characters in the show. In the book, early on, she's looking after the kids. She's there because she's about 10 years older. She's looking after the kids that went with the Aes Sedai. She doesn't trust her, but she's not an arsehole.
Whereas by no means, but in this show, she's completely
she's a complete She's a bitch. It's unlikable. She's not only turning around and going, let her die unless you give me what I want. Nynaeve, it's in the book. Moiraine doesn't get injured in the book at all. However, because she's using the one power to help keep everybody as refreshed as possible. And
exactly, something that is missed here. The flight, even just to the ferry, it's a whole night's ride.
Yeah, so she's
Moiraine is using magic to revitalize not only
she's revitalizing the horses
but the horses
and
as well.
all the people, but she can't do it herself. So she's taking a lot of energy to do that. So she's exhausted. So Nynaeve, even though she doesn't like her, because she's a wisdom, she takes care of her because that's what she would do. She's not saying, "I hate you, so I'm not touching you." unless I get something. It's a case of, oh, I don't really like you, but you take this, it'll help you sleep. She's basically, she's caring enough that even if she doesn't like someone, she'll care for them.
I mean,
she's an ass, and she's only doing it to get what she wants. But she's quite happy to let her die if she doesn't get what she wants.
They set that up on in the first episode where she calls that that story about her wisdom, her I don't know, what would you call it? What's the
wisdom? Yes,
the wisdom that she was apprenticed to. I was her master, but you're probably not allowed to use that word these days. That travelled to the tower and wasn't all. So they've set up that she dislikes the tower.
Yes. But that's another thing. See, in the book, the Amerlin seat, the head of the Aes Sedai, was a fisherman's daughter. Poor. So they didn't. The tower do not care if you are rich or poor. As long as you can touch the one power, that's all that matters. But in this, they're already implying that they're all elitists, and if you're poor, they don't interested in you. So it's considering the Amerlin seat, the head of the Aes Sedai was born a fisherman's, and the fisherman was a poor fisherman.
So they evidently don't care what your skin colour is as long as you're female and posh.
Yeah, that's what effectively what they now. But in the book, they don't care what anything is, as long as you can touch the one power and be trained to not hurt yourself.
Exactly.
So as long as you're female and as long as you can touch one power, they don't care colour, race, rank, or money. They are unimportant to the Aes Sedai. It's
essentially something the book does really well. You may have all the money in the world, you can't buy yourself access to the one source. You're either born with it or you're not born with it.
And the fact is, the Amerlin seat is born from a very poor family and became the most powerful Aes Sedai, the head of the Aes Sedai. Yet in the TV show, they've already turned around and says, if you're poor, you're not welcome.
Yeah, it's a weird setup.
It's weird of taking that, switching it around, because there's no need for it. And that's the problem with this, because the bit with Nynaeve, she's the wisdom who's meant to care for people. Doesn't matter if she likes them or not. She's to care. Her job is to care for the people in the village or the people in the area.
Exactly, which is the whole reason why
Nynaeve turns around and says that she would only care if she likes you, and she doesn't, unless she wants something. So Sen Bui in the book, he's not even touched upon. I think he was mentioned in the first episode, but he was he's an old grumpy old bugger who is constantly like to stir up trouble. He's a bit of a troublemaker, even though she does not like Sen Bui in the book. She still heals him because she helps to heal him and his family, even though they're troublemakers, because that's what she does. She's there to help, even if she doesn't
exactly. And it feels like they just dumped the whole Sen Bui story on top of Matt. Matt isn't this much of a mischief or thief.
Matt's a joke. He's a bit of a scoundrel, but he's a joke. He's a
jokester rather than a thief.
He's a jokester. He's basically, he likes a bit of a laugh and a joke, so he'll do silly things as a prank for two people, and they sometimes get out of control and he gets into trouble. But he's not a thief. He's not a gambler. He's not a womanizer. He's not going to turn out like his dad, because his dad in the book is not a womanizing abuser. He's one of the stand-up ones who will pull Matt down for doing the stupid tricks, because it interferes with how people actually see them. Because his mum and his dad will come down and harden him, just like the wisdom or the mayor of the council, if he does something that it upsets the town. So, but the way they're doing it in the book, truthfully, Matt is a really good character in the book. Can't abide him in this.
But these days, of course, I mean, we've actually shown that Rand's father was a reasonably decent father. You can't have too many actually good father figures. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
most father figures, especially if they're white, they've got to be bad fathers these days.
Yep.
This is one of the things that I really I know why I call it a wokeness, a poisonous parasite.
Yes.
Because
well, you look at the girl who pulled the sword and ran, right?
Mm.
Never happened in the book, but they've taken it from a part in the book
Mm.
where 3 guys did that to
Mm.
Matt and ran. They locked him in the back room and they were waiting for a fade to come. 3 guys, so they've got 1 woman doing the job at what the book had 3 guys doing.
I mean, I'm not necessarily that bothered about some, you know, if you change one character from male to female, as long as it doesn't affect.
Sometimes it works.
But what gets me though is the reason I call it a poison is that anything comes along like that, and immediately these days you're sensitized to see it.
Yes.
As wokeness. I mean, you know, the fact that in the book the science, you know, that there is the power, you know, the power that the female and the males can't touch, and the fact that the white cloaks are the ones that sort of witch hunters, if you like, of sorts. But with modern day sensitivities, overloaded with that, wokeness immediately makes, oh god, here we go, the white guys are the bad guys again.
Yes.
Whereas that is something that I've taken from the book and just perhaps changed slightly, you know.
Yeah, well, the thing is,
just since we're touching on the white cloaks here, before we taint you too much, Colin, what is actually your understanding, not your impression? What are the white cloaks doing so far? As are they military? Are they an army? Are they religion?
I think they seemed to me to be they seem to be a sort of almost a version of the Knights Templar, but that they seem to be sort of an anti. I'm not sure if anti-magic is the right word, but they seem to be, or at least see themselves as resistance to the tyranny of the female witches. Some of them being more fanatical than the others. I mean, the guy that was eating the
he was the questioner.
The questioner.
Hand of the light, they called him. He was a questioner. In effect, it would be like an inquisitor, the Inquisition.
I mean, he was definitely sort of seemed to be more fanatical, whereas the guy that was actually leading them seemed to actually be reasonably.
Jeffrey Bonholt, the leader of the Children of the Light, he was meant to be.
Yeah. I mean, he seemed to be reasonably reasonable. He didn't seem to be fanatic. I mean, he questioned them and he was satisfied with the answers that they gave and let them go. You know, despite the fact that his inquisitor was taking an excuse to grope Moraine.
Yeah.
You know, how much, given what the inquisitors have, well, actually, no.
What did you think of the burning at the stake scene?
I think they really need to read their fucking European history.
See, the problem is, right, in the book, the Children of the Light call them the Tar Valon witches. However, they don't burn at the stake. If they come across them and they won't kill them, they fill them full of arrows. Because they can't
because if a brigade of white cloaks come across just one Tar Valon witch, if you like, they wouldn't charge. They would either just lob everything they have at her or run the other way. They would retreat. But here you have a single witch.
And if she is caught, she's blindfolded, her hands were cut off, and that she was gagged, she could still use the one power. All this, they're using it as if they need to use hands. Is something the TV show doing, and it's to show like the fact that he cut off her hands allowed her to be burnt at the stake, because somebody said, oh, they called them the witches, so witches get burnt at the stake, so we need to show that. And that's exactly, somebody's got cliff notes. They're known as witches, so what do we do with witches? And because of that, well, how can we get it so she can't cast her magic? Oh, well, we'll have to be all hand symbols and stuff like that, and wave the hands. So if she can't wave her hands, she can't do anything, which is crazy because the book, she could be completely gagged, tied up in a dark room, can't see, can't hear, can't talk, but she can still use the one power because it's all
Depending on how strong she is, if she was locked into the dungeon, blindfolded, hands tied, hands chopped off, whatever, she would still be able to summon so much of the one source, obviously depending on power level, how powerful she is, but she would be able to flatten the entire building.
Well, that's why I say I think they need to reread their history. I think my impression is that they are saying, oh, okay, well, these guys are the witches, these guys are the Inquisition. I've got news for you guys. The Inquisition weren't interested in witches. For most of the medieval period that the Inquisition existed, they didn't even really believe in witches.
Yeah.
They were interested, the Inquisition were interested in heresy and heresy alone.
Yeah. But the thing is, the way Robert Jordan did it, he's taken different cultures from different times and he's put them all in the thing. So the fact that they've brought in what seems to be like a Knight Templar one and they've got the witches, that he's taken, his white cloaks are based on, yes, it definitely to me they were the Crusaders type thing or the Inquisition because you had the questioners which seemed to be like the Inquisitors. So he's taken that, but the Aiel are very like the nomads, the desert nomads, so they're more Arabian, and then you've got the Lords of Tyr, more like the enlightened age of maybe Europe and things like that. And then you've got the horsemen of, I can't remember the name of the thing. Maybe the horses. They were horsemen. It's not Tyr, is it? It's Tanchico. It's something like that. But they're basically horsemen. And to me, he's taking them as like the Genghis Khan type thing. It's the Mongols.
Yeah,
So
but the
basically,
Aiel men, while I will jump in quickly here, while you could say the Aiel men are like Arabian nomadic warriors, maybe close to, say, Genghis Khan.
yeah,
There's definitely a difference between the Aiel men and the horsemen. It's something that happens after Tyr, the advent of Tyr, that when we get properly introduced to them.
yeah.
And
But
this is where the book is doing it well. It does justice to all these cultures. They have distinctive traits, features, cultures, customs, songs, spirit, looks, dress code, the way you approach and deal with each other. And
yeah. Even the Athayan Mayer, the basically, sorry, the Tinkers, the traveling people,
the Tuatha.
the Tarthoan, they in the books are so different, and how the Egwene and Perrin meet them are so different as well. So, like, you've got a guide who helps, basically helps them understand the wolves, understand the traveling people, and that's Elias. He's completely cut right out of it. He's the one that actually helps Perrin understand the wolves.
Now those
So you've bits and pieces in here, and it makes no sense.
Now those guys, the travelers, they're the one group, depending upon how they're going to run them, that I can actually say, okay, now I could understand if they just travel around picking people up, picking up the display, etc., etc., etc. That is the one group I can see actually being reasonably diverse because they've got people, they've picked up, they've accepted people from all over.
Yes.
I will give you one more, Colin. So far into the show, the Tuathan, the people of belief, the travelers, the tinkers, all the names they have, the TV show has been very generous because they're known under all of these names. They are diverse, they are traveling, they are definitely refusing violence, but they are, as you say, they're strangers being picked up. There are a lot of people that were soldiers, very violent people and everything, but they have found a way of belief, and therefore, because some reason they got picked up by them and then changed the way they are now.
Yes, basically they basically encourage the peace. But the thing is, with the way they met the Tinkers is just so wrong. The fact is they're following them, and then the Tinkers sort of ambush them, and then they're the ones that explain how, like, Aram is the son of the two heads. So he's the one that's actually telling her what she should say. That it was Elias that did that. So the fact that he's sort of saying it as if he's being sarcastic, all you need to say is this. And he was one who was trying to get her to join them. But the way he's talking, it's almost like it's sarcasm. This is what you have to say just to satisfy the old folk and stuff like that. It just seems wrong the way they introduced who they are and how the song and what they were doing. Whereas when Elias was talking to them and saying, when we meet people, this is what they're like. Don't appreciate all the things that they've been told about them. They're not true any more than anybody else. So they're stealing your children and stealing all your thingy. There's thieves everywhere. So just because people blame the Tinkers for everything, or the kids getting stolen by the Tinkers, well, that's just a case of they encourage people to actually follow the way of the leaf. And if they want to come with them, they'll say, no problem, come on. They'll not actually steal them away, but people automatically assume. So you got a better explanation in the book about the travelling people, whereas in this, the son is the one that's being assaulted.
No, the ambush scene really irked me, because that is, despite everything that you learn about the traveling folk that was on, they would not have done anything like that at all. It would not be in their characteristics to have done such an ambush, especially to traveling strangers. But no, not especially to, just full stop. They would not have done it at all.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they've got the big dogs there, the big dogs are there to sound threatening, because if you walked up to the dog, it would sort of go, big. It's a big roost, but it's only to look to scare off people so they don't get into trouble with the traveling people. Don't get trouble by people coming up and trying to bully them. The dogs are there to look vicious. So you didn't even get the dogs try to growl to scare them away. It was the fact that the dogs were just sort of there, but these big dogs, but they were just there because somebody's read. To me, it is all cliff notes. Somebody's not read it. They've just got somebody said, this person does this person does this, these people do this, these people do that, and then that's it. That's all they've got. They've got the very bare essentials, and then they fill the rest in from somebody else's imagination. It's typical.
I'm gonna say it's
like
more.
Somebody said, Robert Jordan, that's fantastic. I can do better.
And no, I'm going to say it's more malicious than that. And it does a disservice, not only to Robert Jordan's source materials, but we do have the traveling people here in UK. The traveling people in the Wheel of Time are not based on them. But you can tell that the writer was emphasizing, oh, yeah, okay, I've heard about these Romies, whatever they call traveling.
The Roma. The Roma people.
They're traveling, they're stealing stuff, they're repairing things, and they're stealing your children, and they're really upping that. That's literally the first impression you're getting of the Tuatha in the TV show, and it's so wrong.
Yeah, because
the rumors are there, but by no means it's not what they are. So I would say it's the close-minded individual that wrote and decided, I'm putting pen to paper, we're going to do this scene this way, this is the way they go.
These are gypsies, not traveling people. These are gypsies who do this, and this. Whereas they just says, right, they're gypsies. A bit in the book, they're always looking for the song. Okay, put the bit about the song, and then that's it. Really? And the fact is, so they introduced the traveling people, which they screwed up. They've introduced the wolves, which last episode they screwed up. They've introduced the part with each of the groups getting separated. So Perrin, Matt and Rand meet up with Tom Merrilin. Tom Merrill
So far, the split
from
up
the very beginning of the
is
book.
the only thing accurate to the
Yes.
book.
Yes, but the fact is, they brought Tom Merrill in. He was there from the Winter's Night. So he is. The fact that the song they had him singing, really? What the heck was that? Tom Merrillin's a gleeman he'll tell the stories to enhance and make people cheer or sad or thing. But he's singing it. He's like
A bard.
it's not even that. Even the way he was doing it, it was almost like it was a grunge bard. I'm singing a really miserable song, and to bring in, but Tom Merlin was a bard. He was a court bard in the thing, but he had run away. You find that later on, but you see him as a gleeman. The gleeman stands out because they've got a multicolored coat. So patch quilt coat with all these colours on it.
Oh, right.
To me, Tom Merlin's just another guy just because he's got a guitar.
And he can throw a knife.
Exactly. But he's a juggler, so he can juggle nice and stuff like that. So he's meant to handle nice.
They screwed up Tom so very much. Even if you look at it, yes, he has the colors, but it's on the inside of the cloak. When he's performing, he should have been turning it the other way around. You should have seen the yellow, the green, the blue, the red, the purple colors all just exploding all over it. And he's not just a bard. He's a juggler. He's a storyteller. He's a singer. He plays the flute, plays the harp. He has tons of tricks that he can do. He's
traveling entertainer.
Entertainer, an all-rounder. He can do literally everything. And like we said, later on, you're supposed to discover more of his story, that he actually comes from really, really good places. He's done some really big stuff.
He's the one who gets separated with Rand and Matt, and as they're traveling to try and catch up with everybody else, he's teaching them his trade to help. So that's how when they get to a place, they offer their services to get a bed for the night, which leads them to the part where in this one, maybe we can help, and they're cutting wood and serving at tables. And even the fact is it your boyfriend? Oh, we need to actually imply they're gay because it's two boys. Why? Just because two males traveling together have to be gay? Because everybody sees that in this thing. But even that was cringeworthy. And they're implying that everybody sees two males who are friends who travel, even if they have an argument, they must be lovers.
Oh, but that's this day and age, isn't it?
Yeah,
I must admit, I am finding. I know you said they screwed the rules up, but from a point of view of someone who doesn't know the books, I'm thinking, okay, that looks like it could be going somewhere interesting. I'm finally thinking, okay, so there's obviously something. The wolves recognize something in him.
Yeah.
I'm looking, without knowing what that's going to be, without having read the books, that was interesting. I mean, yeah, it does a little bit weird. They come in and they go and they come again, but I think it's, as I say, from a newbie's point of view, from a normie's point of view, that's mildly interesting. It's they built something a little bit more on it, and obviously that's going to go somewhere interesting.
See, the thing is, the way it was a lot more interesting.
This guy here, Emmy, our favorite is Perry Nightbiow.
Yeah, definitely. In the book, the way they bring the wolves in and how he understands and what it is and things like that, it actually is really, really good. And that's before they meet the traveling people. He meets Elias, who already can do that. It understands the wolves, and he sort of helps them understand where it's going. And Perrin's initial story is absolutely amazing. The fact that he's trying to avoid it, but he keeps getting dragged in, then he comes to accept it, then he helps, he uses it, and he meets up with wolves in a dream, and all that part. Perrin's backstory is absolutely amazing. The fact that they had him, let's kill his wife, his pregnant wife. So I've killed my pregnant wife. Okay, you have to come with me. No problem.
Who also, despite being perhaps a reasonably well-toned muscle woman happened to be the village smith.
Yeah.
Despite the fact her husband was twice her body mass, twice her muscle mass,
And he was the assistant to
and
her.
she's pregnant.
Yeah. And he was her assistant.
Yeah.
Because remember, she was working hard while he was having a drink with his friends, and somebody, Nynaeve, had to go and tell him, or Egwene had to say, it's hard work in there, you should be helping her. Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't think of that myself. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole attitude, where he's an apprentice in the book to Master Luhan, the blacksmith.
And he is not by any means a bad apprentice. He's a good hard-working apprentice.
So the even things like the way they introduced it, the fact that they had him married, nothing to do with the book, the fact that they had him killing his pregnant wife, and then the very day or the day after he killed his wife, Moiraine says, you have to come with me, and he goes, fine. Yeah, that would happen.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't kill her and she died at the Trolloc attack, do you think anybody would leave when they've not even buried their wife? Not a chance. But the way they've done it is if they say, oh, well, I killed her, it doesn't matter, I'll just go with you. It's basically Perrin has become a known entity. The rules make him as if it could be a bit interesting. Egwene, it's the fact that she, when in Shadar Logoth, she says to Ran, go, I will look for you.
Yeah.
Where it's in the book, it's Ran says, go, I will find you. So basically, he's still trying to protect her and go, I'll still try to find you to make sure we get together.
I must
doing it. And then with him, and then you've got Rand, who's bullied with that girl and the thing, mate, and really, and then Matt, who's a thieving bugger, he'll rob the dead. Yeah, I mean, it's every one of them. They've made them nasty pieces of work that I have no interest in any of them.
Yeah, none of them seem to have got any. None of them seem to have got any at the minute real redeeming features. I mean, I can understand. You get a point. You get up. They set up, for example, the Rand realizing that if his girlfriend, his lover, his fiance, whatever she is, if she goes on to become, they haven't said it, but they've suggested that the wisdom has to live alone. That I mean, and that if she goes and becomes a wisdom, they're not going to be able to get married. But as an understanding, but rather than make that a sympathetic thing, they've made it as if he's coming. It was all about him. Oh, if you go and do that, I'm not going to get to shag you every night. In effect.
Yeah,
I mean,
which there's basically the fact is she's still going to be wisdom before all this happens. Nynaeve's already asked her to be her apprentice, but it didn't negate the fact that the two of them were promised each other when they were kids. The two of them were still planning to get married. Obviously, Winter Night happened and things happened, and they had to leave the two rivers. But that's when they realised their feelings are separating. But even when Nynaeve asked Egwene to be apprentice, it didn't imply that you have to be single to be it. All they're saying is most wisdoms are single because people can't actually deal with the responsibility that the wisdom has, so they become introverted, or some men can't deal with it because there's
which an
any help
aspect
in
they
the farm
completely
and stuff
destroyed
like that.
here.
Yeah.
By just going, it's like, oh, you're going to be a wisdom. Oh, therefore you can't have a boyfriend. No, it's the sheer amount of responsibilities that rest on the wisdom.
Yeah,
being
and also
a caretaker, caregiver, counselor, all of these things.
There's basically that means their husband's doing the work in the farm, where it would be both of them doing it, because she's got all these responsibilities. He's got the responsibilities farm, whereas when they were married, it would be both their responsibilities to deal with the farm. So that's why most wisdoms don't get married, because they realise they can't help on a farm and the amount of what they've got takes them away, and it makes them more lonely. So that's what it is. So it's a bane to be the wisdom, rather than
yeah.
it's a bane because you can't get married when you're not allowed to. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
Rather than them making the decision, it's easier for us to be on our own rather than the hardship it would cause us later on, or hardship it would cause our family later on
Yeah.
because of that. So they've made the decision rather than actually, you're a wisdom, you can't end the story.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
about the penny,
for
Aes
the
Sedai are
wokiest
never
out
going to
there,
be married as well.
it's an amazing thing they have missed, because they're going to go, oh yeah, smash the
Yeah.
glass ceiling, women can do everything. Here you have one of the most responsible and most important role that you can hold in a village. And it's usually only women that can do it because they are low tier channelers that can usually touch the one source, but they never really get picked up by the Aes Sedai. They never get found, but they don't understand that they're channeling, which is why their medicine is more powerful, more effective. They manage to help people where they should not have been able to help people.
Whereas not all wisdoms can. Some wisdoms
Mhm.
can. Some wisdoms are just good with herbs to help, but some wisdoms are good with herbs and they can touch the one source, but they think it's the herbs that are doing it, and it's just they're just a bit better at it. So they don't understand that. So that's why you don't get male wisdoms, because
Men can't
anybody who
touch
did
the
would go
source.
mad if they did touch the source. So they usually it's not a job that men deal with, because they're usually doing the farming and stuff like that. So
I-
there are aspects like that that they don't take. And as Cam says, the books are worth looking into. There is a lot of them, but if you are going to look for them, look for the old ones. Don't look for the
Do
ones
not
because
look for the new ones,
they,
because they're probably going to be rewritten. The latest
yeah,
audiobook that now is available on Audible, that's Rosamund Pike. It's not the original readers.
and the original readers are far superior because you've got males and females reading the same book, and they're reading different parts where it's very male centric. You've got a guy reading it. It's very female centric. You've got the female reading it, and they do swap in and out. So
And they
they
do it really
they,
well. If
they
you ever
do it.
been to theater or anything, or seen an opera where they have different singers portray different parts where the emotion and stuff like that is supposed to be brought out, they do that well in the audiobooks. The original ones, I should say. So it's a shame.
I was just
Uh,
looking at Edge of Time. Said a good thing they cast a plastic surgery disaster for the lead.
I usually don't comment. I usually tend to not care, but there's just something weird going on here.
Yes, and Edge of Time was saying about how it was very woke. The very first episode, it took me 3 hours to get through because it was so bad. The first minute, I had to stop and shout and ball for about 10 minutes, and then I would go back. Second episode, I managed to get through. This episode, it was so boring. It was literally numbing. And see, look, Colin, I was saying, my brother-in-law, I know he never read the books. He likes this because he likes Game of Thrones. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've not spoken to him, but I know he likes it because my wife had said, he said it's really good. And I'm sitting there thinking, mm,
I,
I need
I
to
I will
educate
say
him.
Game of Thrones season 8 final episode is 100 miles better than the 5 episodes I've seen so far. Game of Thrones has more content. You have more understanding. You can skip the entire Game of Thrones. Just watch the last episode. You will have far more understanding of what Game of Thrones is than this after 5 episodes.
Yeah. And considering they're throwing in bits from book 1, 2, 3, they're taking a bit here and they're taking a bit there, and they're putting it in, but they're putting it in out of order to try and make a cohesive story. And that's the problem. They're basically just decided, right, I like that bit from the story, I like that bit from the story, I like that bit from the story, we'll put them all in. But that's from book 3, that's from book 1, that's from book 2, that's from book 1, that's from book 3. Doesn't matter. We
Which
just
is
put it in and
causing
we'll just sort of
absolute
tie it in.
chaos.
Yeah.
So if you think of a timeline, you get introduced to Emmons Field. First episode spent on Emmons Field, kind of fair enough. Okay, build the village up and everything, even though it was really crappy done here. But then there is the whole thing. There is the reason to go on the journey. They're being hunted for quite some time. It takes them, I think it's almost 2 days to get just to Shada Logo, where they manage to escape from the chasers. But that's where the chaos happens. They split up because they're getting chased out by the mist of Shada Logo.
Yeah.
And then from
it's
Shada
missed
Logo,
not a fault.
it takes them, what is it, 10, maybe even 14 days just to reach the nearest big city, Camelin. And Camelin is at such a distance away that most people in Camelin have no clue where Emmonsfield would be.
Yeah.
It's literally that far out into the middle of nowhere, which makes it really strange that Nynaeve and Egwene, which are usually the ones that are allowed to do the exposition in the TV show, have such vast knowledge. They know exactly what Trollocs are. They know exactly everything there is to know about the Aes Sedai. They know all there is to know about the White Cloaks. No, they don't. They literally do not have a clue. This is part of the discovery of the journey within the book. But here they know it automatically. And it's the women that always know exactly what's going on and who they are.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The fact is, the villains, most of the villains, the stronger villains are female. Like the girl who held them up, right? In the book, that happens later on. The Matt and Rand have been separated by Tom after he attacks a food to let them run. And this is days after that happened, so they think Tom's dead. So Tom had been with them from the beginning, right up to Whitebridge, which had been a week or two's travel.
It's been quite a few weeks' travel because
so
Tom is training them.
Exactly, he's been training them on it. They've had a boat trip up the river. They've been training as they've been doing it. But the fact is, they get to Whitebridge, something happens, a fade turns up, and they run. And this is days later. They're basically worrying about all that. And then they're they're in a tavern, and these guys are trying to think there's something up, and they basically give them a room at the back, and they jam the door. And the guys are trying to break in the middle of the night because they've called a fade and they want to steal the sword and all this. And Rand calls down the one power. He doesn't know he does it. And the door and everything gets blown down. Matt gets blinded. In this, what did have? Rand suddenly became strong and broke down a door that it would take 3 men to break down. Why?
Yeah, that part of the story, and that is one of my favorite starts to the journey, because Matt and Rand get, shall we say, a harsh life lesson that not everybody out there is nice.
Yeah.
So for weeks now, they've been traveling from village to village to village, making ends meet with the skills they learned from Tom Merrivin. They know how to play the harps. They know a couple of songs. Matt is good at doing acrobatics and everything. Rand is good at juggling and doing other of these like fancy fair tricks and everything. And suddenly they come across this inn, and immediately, even in the book, you get the sense there's something out of order here, because Robert Jordan describes the innkeeper as being a very skinny fellow. And for being a chef, if you're that skinny, it's very unlikely that you are a successful chef or anything. And he's without actually saying that the innkeeper is shifty, you get the atmospheric part that there is something maybe not right here. And the kids are good, smart enough. Mind you, they are supposed to still be 15, 16, maybe 17. They're smart enough to get up. Hang on, that there is something not right here, which is why they wedged the door. And you see, I described that from memory in under 60 seconds. That would easily have been 4 minutes in the TV show that we could have done super easy. You got the danger. Yeah. Instead, we have almost an entire episode with this barkeep lady.
Yeah, but the problem is, how the hell did Rand break down the door when she says, "That's ironwood. It would take three. You'd have to be 3 times as strong just to to thing me." And then he managed to pull the door down. Why did he suddenly become a superhuman? Where did the power come from? It's not as if there was something happened. Maybe there was a strike of lightning and the door flew off its hinges, and you're sitting there thinking, where'd that come from? So you could imply that he didn't realise, but he's used the one power to do it. However, the fact that he bangs the door down suddenly as if he suddenly became so much more powerful. What's that got to do with the power? The power doesn't work that way. Yet, in this episode, they've effectively said somehow he's became more powerful, that he can take down a door that she said that would need to be 3 times as strong to even nudge it. It just seemed to actually throw something in there which makes zero sense. That's the problem with it. They're throwing things in from bits here and there. Like as I said, the fact is, I said it earlier. It was a great Nynaeve when when Lan says, "How did you track us?" I didn't say I would tell you because she can't. Because in the book she explains her dad taught her because she didn't have a brother, and she learned more from her dad than any of the boys learned from their dads, even though their dads are really good at it. She is superb at it because her dad taught her the same as if he would have taught if she had a brother, but she's so good, she learned it so well that there's a warden that she could actually sneak up on, which is a hard enough trait if you're good at something. But the fact is, he didn't even know she was there in the book. And then he says, "How did you do that?" And well, my dad taught me. Your dad must have been really good, he says, which basically is a backhanded compliment to her because you're so good, and if your dad taught you that, he must have been excellent. This is coming from a expert tracker, warrior, and she gets that in the book. Whereas here, they can't do that because they've already said she didn't have a mum and dad.
Now you've hit it there, mate. I think you've actually, without realizing it, you've hit exactly the point. She learned from her dad, and these days you can't have a female character learning anything from a man.
But the fact
they would
is,
have to have made it her mother in order for her to learn it for anybody.
That's the point. They could not say how she learned it. So the fact is, Lan says, she says, "Well, I did say you could ask. I didn't say I would answer you." So she's basically being a bitch for saying it.
Yeah.
However, they know they can't do it because yes, if they decided to change it, her mum was an expert tracker and she taught. They can't do that either because in the past they basically episode one they said she was adopted, so she was brought up by the wisdom.
But it would split the minds as well because, okay, men can't take care of themselves. Okay, can you explain then, even in the TV show, it's Tam and Ran, Ran's father and Tam, living alone up in the mountains, a day's journey away from the village, well, half a day's journey away from the village, taking care completely of themselves, an entire farm. Not only do they do that, they brew alcohol for the festivities and everything. They do all of that. They deliver it on time. They're really good. So that would even in the TV show, that would shatter that completely because there is no woman, even in the TV show, around Tam or Ran.
But that's why Ran's a wimp.
Oh, yeah.
Because even
being
when
16, 17 years old, growing up on a farm, knowing how to lift heavy stuff and shoot defend against wolves, yes, you're definitely a wimp.
Yeah. How did they start the episode? Rand and Matt's walking ahead and Rand's turning around. Egwene! Yeah, I mean, really? He's almost squealing her name. And to me, that was
they're being hunted by trolls
about her. He's walking and he's screaming for her name. Is that almost like really such a wimp that he's? That was the problem. They have portrayed the characters, every single one of them, even the female characters, in such a negative light that they're unlikable. So they could have actually did that with the male characters if they wanted to, but why would they do it with the female characters, which were great characters in the books, but for some reason they've turned them into the most dislikable characters as well.
I will ask this to you, Colin, because I know your time is getting a little bit short here.
Yeah, it's
Can you tell me which character that stands out for you that may have some likability? Where you are at the moment. You said you're on episode 3. So, mind you, Colin's just watched the TV show. He doesn't have any knowledge of the book. So, you're basically giving that background.
At the moment, I think they're all the guys seem to have got some potential. Not least because I'm aware of how writing works, and that you can't have the characters. That they're going to have something, but Rand possibly the girl. Both the girls seem to be, as you say, quite standard modern day. Let's make a strong female character by basically making a masculine honourable. But I'm not sure any of them particularly stand out at the moment. But I say pairing in the walls is the only thing I think in a minute that's actually got piqued my interest as possibly something that might be interesting to come down the line.
It's quite interesting, even though every butchering that has been done to this so far, still Perrin seems to come out on top, which is quite true for the initial book. You don't get too much about most of the other characters. You do get very in-depth reasons why they should be on the journey, why they should be there. But by far, the first book gives a lot of love and attention.
If you get a chance, have a read or a listen to it if you can get a chance to the first book. Even the first few chapters will show you the difference between.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fantastic in this fish.
One more thing before I know you'll choose your own time when you need to jump, but can you tell me, Colin, what the dragon is?
The dragon.
Well, the Dragon Reborn is what it's about.
Yeah, but I think the dragon is possibly something linked to the reason that the men either that the men screwed up the world in the first place, or the dragon was what they were trying to push off. Basically it's gonna be the hero. Sorry, not the hero, the Messiah. From the context, obviously, the dragon is going to be the entity which is reborn into one of the characters, and that character, the dragon, is then hopefully going to go on to save the world, which is why
that's exactly what it's meant to be.
And there are forces that don't want the world saved, which is why Tavern Keeper Girl had dreams that magically showed her all 5 of the people that might possibly be the Dragon Reborn. So she and others were out to kill him.
Yes, that's exactly what the books say as well. Basically, in the books, they only concentrate on 3 of the characters, but it's the exact same principle. The dragon is the Messiah who's being reborn because when they tried to seal the Dark One's prison, and Lewis Theron, who was the dragon, went mad and destroyed himself after it, and this is him being reborn to fight the Dark One again. So, and then the Dark One try to stop him. So, but yes, the premise in the book and the TV show is exactly the same. They're just different characters It's
At least some of
fun.
that came from.
I'm fairly happy that at least that part has come across.
Yeah.
But something that is really, really missing is because I'm trying to see the show from two ways. This stuff I know from the book, and then just trying to, how does it hold up standalone? But when I try to separate that, it goes like, I have no clue what the dragon is. I get so little explaining, why is the dragon really bad?
Yeah.
Why is there a reason to fear the dragon?
Yeah.
I mean, the kids in the book, it's a myth to them. It's kind of like we know about Hercules. But
It's
that's
stories
kind of
that other people have said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the extent. But here it's like, dragon bad. Let's follow this strange woman and
except that Hercules doesn't need to be reborn. He's just currently living under the guise of an actor in Hollywood. Yes, I saw that episode of Hercules. I saw all Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. I know that Hercules is really Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, I saw that one as
Sorbo was
well.
really
I saw that
Hercules.
one as well.
Guys,
that one.
I am going to have to drop because I've got unfortunately, StreamYards won't let me even be into StreamYards
I know.
at the same time. I need to
Don't freak out about it, Colin, but thank you very much for joining us.
That's okay.
I'll try to get the link to you a little bit quicker next time, Colin.
Okay, mate.
Okay, Colin, thank you again for joining us.
That's
and
okay.
if you want anything to plug before you go?
What we're doing, well, guys, you guys, if you want to come over to us at FFSI, we're actually having another unplugged stream. So, talking about, we're starting off with the, seriously, straight off of this stream, the idea of, are there actually any adaptations which are actually quite good, even if they're not that faithful to the originals? But that's going to be probably dropping the streaming, so dropping a link in the stream for people to come on and chat as well. But it's about half an hour's time.
I have to give it a think because I'm certain there are a few out there that I really enjoyed. There has been bastardization adaptations, but it's been like, wow, that was really good. It did pay homage and it was faithful-ish, but it was a completely new story. It just drew power from it.
Yeah. I'll see you later, guys.
I'll be listening to that after we're finished here.
Yeah. And if not, see you during the week as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have a good
Bye, guys. Bye, chat.
Right.
Let's do. Hold on. There we go.
There we go. We're not old. We're just classic. But
yes, that's it. So, Jim, what was your impressions of this episode? We've obviously discussed. I've obviously been ranting on about my thoughts of it. What was your thoughts of it?
The thing is, despite it's been already an hour and 10 minutes, we barely just managed to discuss the first part of this episode. The oddities around Nynaeve, how she was dragged off far into the forest and somehow just not get eaten because apparently it was another juicy Trolloc that could get eaten instead of a fresh human victim, fresh human unconscious victim that would probably not have even been able to fight back. Then there is the complete arrogance when she's tracking down Lan. And Lan is obviously because
where are they?
A bit different.
Yeah, very.
No. I'm literally talking about holding a sword to Lan's neck.
That's what I'm saying.
And she's
tell me, or I will cut you.
Look at the framing. She's sneering. She's superior to Lan.
Do you know the good thing I liked about this episode?
That she
Lan
got smacked on the head.
Aye, Lan belted her one. Normally, you wouldn't see that.
That was actually surprising for being in this. It was like, but that
to me was the best part of this episode. That somebody shut her up.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Because if you be threatening me with weapons, threatening to kill me, and you're having that attitude on top of it, you would definitely get punched in the face as soon as I got the opportunity.
But it was just even within this episode, the fact that somebody shut her up, that's all that mattered. It's basically didn't care. I would have been happy if it was Moiraine. Anyone didn't care. The fact is, she is such an unlikable, arrogant, nasty piece of work. As soon as somebody shut her up, I thought, thank Christ. Yet Nynaeve is definitely one of the best characters in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But here
and
she's
this show, she's
unlikable
arrogant
bitch.
and unlikable.
Yeah. There's nothing redeemable about Nynaeve
Not a
so
thing.
far.
So far, there's nothing redeemable about any of them. There's not one person in this show that I see if they get killed off just because I
Don't
would be
care.
going, fine, no problem. Thanks. Because that's
But it
one
would
less.
be like they're treating, and I might be jumbling the episodes together now, but there's a king that dies, I believe, or a very important man. They just
Not in
like
this
dig
episode.
a half-a-foot grave, just chuck him in, walk off, and you just go, that's going to be scavenged on by wildlife. In a half an hour, there's going to be like wildlife
Well,
just.
that must be episode 4. It's definitely not in episode 3. They basically buried the Aielman, and considering they've actually taken the Aielman, which was Gaul, where Perrin finds him in the cage, whereas it's Matt and Rand, and Matt wants to steal from the dead man, and it's Tom who goes to bury him and lets Matt do it, and
I'm trying to keep it in chronological order, and as I said, I had a feeling that burial crap.
The burial of
was
somebody who
later
wasn't
on.
the Aielman.
Yeah.
And
The
the fact is,
Aielman is definitely here, but
you don't see colour of hair outside the Aiel waist, and you're sitting there thinking, and Matt didn't turn around. You mean like the guy you met in the tavern who was sitting next to me? So he acts as if the Aielman's hair colour was unusual, yet he'd been sitting next to Rand and never
not only
mentioned it.
sitting next to it, he's scamming and hustling them.
But that's what I'm saying. But he actually goes on about the Aielman's hair colour. You don't see that outside the Aiel waist. And yet he was sitting across the table from one and never mentioned it.
Such a split in the mind of whoever wrote this.
It's typical.
Tom in the TV show apparently has massive amount of respect for the Aielman in the cage, the dead Aielman, and saying they're not dangerous unless they're masked. And in the tavern, he would say, "Oh, only this kind of hair color is seen in the Aiel ways." Why is he scamming them? Why is he so confident that he could get away with it if he thought that was an Aielman?
No, but that's the point. The people who write this don't have any concept that what was in that scene is the same as in what's in this scene. But we'll say it in this scene, but we'll ignore it in that scene. It's not an issue. And that's the thing. He's scamming them, but the fact is, after that, he says about the colour of his hair, yet he doesn't mention it at all. When
he
Rand's
doesn't even flinch when he sees Rand.
It's the same colour of hair, but it's a big deal in that scene, but it's not a big deal in that scene, and it's because the people who write this have got zero clue. They are complete and utter brain dead when it comes to it, because they go, we'll mention it here because the hair colour is really important, but you just did a scene there where it was unimportant. Don't worry, it doesn't matter. To me, that's what these people do. They have got zero concept of how to write a story. And even when they're reading a story that somebody else has written, they've got zero concept of how to link it.
Exactly. And this is why I'm trying to keep it on the timeline, because I do have a couple of screenshots that are saved up in the background, just so like, okay, this happened, this is it. It's where it is. But if we bring it back just before the meeting with Tom, it is the Egwene and Perrin's so-called escape. How low budget trash did that look? This is supposed to be a high budget, quality made fantasy, high fantasy.
No. High budget. It's meant to be high budget. Not once have anybody says it's meant to be quality. They've thrown a lot of money at it. They never once says that what the money was getting spent on. They're just saying
it. Very much so. But the entire thing with Egwene and Perrin, that's like it feels like that was a high school project made by 13-year-old kids. And if it was,
13-year-old, try actually,
freaking
as the
amazing work.
Americans
Freaking
call it,
amazing work.
kindergarten. As the Americans call it, kindergarten. That is
Yeah.
the kid standing there. I am a star. Look at me. The baby Jesus comes along. That's the type of acting and how it's written. It's
But
basically
that's what I'm saying. If this was indeed done by 13-year-old apprentices schemes and whatnot, that are completely unpaid by Hollywood, fantastically well done. If that is true, but I have a feeling this is supposed to be experts or people with at least a couple of resumes on IMDb.
finger painting
This
expert.
is shit from every possible angle. Camera angles, direction, lighting, reason, the wolves running with them. And it's like, what? It's pants. To
Even
be
the
as
fact
polite
is,
as
the
that.
wolves suddenly stop. Oh, do you think they are trying to guide us this way, Perrin? Really? Really?
Even when they come up on the tracks, it's like, oh, it's tracks. Let's follow them. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you decide which direction to go?
Got my
No
follow-up.
sense of anyone not having any tracking skills, because all tracking skills is in Nynaeve, not in Egwene. And obviously, Perrin is supposed to be a blacksmith, although a useless blacksmith. So where does his tracking skills and understanding come from?
Yeah.
So, but no, they just choose the right way and suddenly catches up with the Tuathuan.
See, I've got my own Trolloc.
Hey, I'll take 100 of those Trollocs any day. But I am certain that the Trolloc is trying to eat you.
Yeah. Just try to see if I taste any good before he bites. Isn't that right, Ben? Isn't that right, bud? Stop. It's the Iron Brew. I think he's after the Iron Brew.
Oh, you better secure that then.
You want a treat? Right, yeah. I'm just going here.
So if we bring it forward to the next step I have, and we covered it quite a lot with Colin, it's the whole Lan has just smacked Nynaeve on the head because she's an absolutely dumb and irresponsible individual.
And
not only from that, when she's tied up and gagged and all that, but she's just going, "Oh, you're nothing. I'm negotiating. I'm setting the terms. I'm making demands. I'm making the rules."
But see, when he hit her, all I thought was, basically,
it's literally the falling off the map and gone.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's exactly. I'm arrogant. I'll let her die because unless I get what I want. Sorry, has anybody ever read the book and understood Nynaeve? Nynaeve would turn around and say,
had a real human encounter?
Her. Nynaeve would say, I despise her, but I still can't let her die.
But has any one of these even had a real world encounter? If this has been you, me, and say a random stranger that say I'm caring for, you're coming in being this obnoxious, making all those demands, when I have you tied up to a tree, gagged, and secured, you can't escape. Okay, you might know magic, but if this had been real world and you had been still that hostile, I would just have carried whoever it was I was caring about, just walked off, left you tied to the tree.
That's the problem. See the way Nynaeve acts? That is the people who write it. That's what they think is the right thing to do because that's what they do. They're the obnoxious, they're the spoiled brats who think, yep, that's how you should do it because people won't treat you any better unless you're actually nasty to them. And that's what I would do. So it's the right thing to do. That's the problem. You're getting it written by narcissistic, nasty pieces of work who think the best thing to do is be the nasty piece because that's what they are. So they're writing themselves as the heroes of this. And sorry, it does not work.
It doesn't even make sense in the TV show that she should be this nasty because Moiraine and Lan has really not done nothing wrong. They've saved the village from an attack.
In the show, I can't actually agree with that. because in the
They've
show
been a bit disruptive, but even so, they have no
they've
reason to
been
be.
demanding. That's the point. They've been very demanding in the show. They've not been nice. They've not actually helped the way they've done in the show. Because remember in the book, she spent the time and healed people. The village, even some of the ones a bit peeved with it when they got. Wait a minute, your son was actually dying until she. I don't know why I'm here. I do apologize. That type of thing. But in the show, she didn't. She stopped the Trollocs, then she took the kids and bugged off. Didn't, and then she basically, in effect, let the ferryman's family kill and thingy. So in this show, she's no nice. She's not. Don't get any readers.
No, but this is because trying to
That's the
pick
problem.
apart the very thin layers there is, because it's basically here's the Trollocs, here is the Aes Sedai, here's Nynaeve. She's this super good and nice, and it's like she treats them all the same. White
Mhm.
Cloak is maybe baked in between Trollocs and Aes Sedai, but a very thin layer. No
Yeah,
distinction, no nothing, but there is a little bit of distinction. This is what I'm saying. She has no reason to say she's going to kill Lan because he's not telling where the others are. Because that's her outright demand. She begins, you tell me what I want to know, or you're dead in 2 seconds. That's literally what she's doing. She doesn't have depth or grasp. It's like, you may know where they are. Can you give me information? If you don't, I will do something.
that's what I'm saying. In this show, Nynaeve's a nasty piece of work. Moiraine is no redeeming factors. Lan has got no redeeming factors. So, in effect, they all treat each other because they're all nasty pieces of work. Whoever think that these are good people doing what good people should be doing have got zero context of what good people. In the book, because there's a lot more background, Moiraine is not seen in that way. The people actually, before they even find out she's Aes Sedai, she's nice to them, she chats to them, she gives them kids a bit of coin for doing wee silly chores, and they're all over the moon because silver. Wow, we've never had this type of money, but she's quite happy to ingratiate herself by asking them wee questions, get them to run wee errands, by giving them more money than they've probably seen in years for themselves. That's the type of thing. So she's not a nasty bitch. She's not condescending. She's just a lady who's come in and she's been nice to people. She's been asking questions, just been chatting away.
Exactly. And the only thing really in the book that gets people's hair to stand up and being a bit cautious is because she's so regal, royal. She's,
Yeah.
for a tiny little woman, it definitely looks like she's highborn. She's of a noble family. That's what's putting the village off a little bit. But when she's starting to ingrain herself into the village with the small tricks, like, oh, thanks for the shore. Here's more money that you have this village seen in the entire lifetime.
Yeah.
It isn't exactly that bad, but most people had never seen a silver coin before
But
she
that's what I'm
came to the
saying.
village.
So in the book, she's got a personality. She explains to them what's happening. She does as much as she could to help the village. So all the people who were injured couldn't walk and the wisdom couldn't help because they were in such a dire way. She did.
Mm-hmm.
Even Tam, she did without actually. It was because of Rand's preconceptions of what would be expected.
Mm-hmm.
He did that, but in effect, she still did it. Even if he'd actually said, I'm giving you nothing, she would have still done it. You just got that impression. She was doing it because he was in such a dire state, not that she wanted something in return. Whereas in the TV show, it's opposite. She doesn't ingrain herself. She walks in and it's quite like, am I Sedai? Look, can you see the ring? And I would like this. And then the magic comes out, and then we need to take these kids and go, or else there's more, because here's more coming. And let's get across the ferry. And my family's across there. Ah, too late for them. And there's no redeeming qualities for Moira or Lan at all. And the same
This is something I was aiming toward before we round off the stream, because there are still a few elements within the episode I was looking to cover, but there is this absolute hollowing of the characters. They're just empty shells. There's nothing within. They're a character name and an actor's face reading lines off a cue card. That's all they are. I mean, the action sequences are atrocious. Bubba Hotep has more choreography in its action sequences at the end of the film when they're fighting off Hotep. And they're supposed to do it in a geriatric formula where there's like a wheelchair. They're all decrepit. They can't move.
See, in the book's description of the Aes Sedai and Warder, with the Warder protecting her Aes Sedai, in effect, it's like a dance. As I've said, right, the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, I was not a fan of. But the fight between Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul, that was a dance between the three of them.
And it gorgeously choreographed.
It was the choreography within that. It almost was like a dance. It didn't matter. It's the same as a lot of the Jedi fights in the prequels. They were almost, people were saying, but that's not how it worked. It doesn't matter. It's the dance. It was choreographed in such a way.
To be visual candy more than anything. And I will take that one and raise you one better. Princess Bride.
Never seen it.
The sword fight
I know the fight sequence you're talking about. It's the one in there's almost like a mountaintop.
Yes.
Aye, so I have seen that the fight sequence because Shad talked about that one. That's the one I remember, but I have never seen the movie.
Not realistic or anything, but it's got the swashbuckling charisma of was it Floyd?
It's Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn.
Yes. It has that
basically it's a bit when he's fencing him and he goes, but I'm left-handed.
Yeah, I know something you don't know. I'm actually right-handed. Yeah. So am I.
Yeah, but it's that type of thing. So yeah, I understand that, but it's the fact is the choreography, it's like a dance. Whereas I watched Lan protecting Moiraine, it was so bad.
I know he won't do it, but there is the overhead shot when she's whirling and everything. It begins well. So Lan is coming in. So I'm trying to do it. So she's standing in the center. She's my mistake. So he's coming in from this direction. And he's actually swirling. He's dancing. But there are two Trollocs coming in. And you can see they're just standing there for like a good 2 seconds before they start doing whatever they've been told that, okay, move this, do that, do this. You can actually see in the TV show a almost full 2 second break because they go, oh, we're out of step, ready, 1, 2, okay, now we move.
Yeah, but it was the fact is the choreography was just so bad. It didn't seem like a dance. It just seemed clumsy. And that was the point. Whereas the way it's described in the book, you can imagine the dance of swords, basically, because in effect, they actually talk about it later on that because the golden age before the Dark One's prison was open, swords was not a weapon. It was because there was no war or anything like that before the Dark One's prison was open. So there was no fighting and stuff like that. So swords was just a game. So the ones who learned swords were the ones that became blade masters when they needed to use it for war. So in effect, it was a game. So it was almost like a choreographer. It was a dance. So they would fight against each other. But it was a game. So if they touched you, you scored the point. Because they talk about how they learned that the game of swords could be used in war. So it was implying that swords was just a game. It was hence the reason why the dancing it's almost like a dance.
Yeah.
So it's described and you're flowing from one stance to the other. And it's that type of thing. Whereas in this, there's no flow. It's just a case of hack and slash.
But again, it comes to the hollowing. So where we are now, in terms of where it should be in the books, we have completely scrapped anything and everything to do with Rand.
Mhm.
There is no reason why he should be carrying his father's sword. You don't even get
Yep.
to see a reason. He just takes it. You
Yeah,
don't even
and
get the reason why he has it.
even
But
though
with
it's
the
got a
sword
heading mark on
comes
it,
the
it's
big part
unimportant.
of the void and the flame.
Yeah, but also the heading marks on the sword. You look at the top right-hand corner of our screen.
Yep.
That's the heading mark sword. It's the heading that is seen from the scabbard, because people can actually say, "Oh, it's a heading mark sword. He's a blade master." That's what puts people off because they
Exactly.
see
And
that
in this world, if you're
one.
carrying a heron marked sword, it's literally danger.
You,
Danger, Will Robinson.
yeah, this
This
guy
is
knows how to
someone that
use it.
will easily
Yeah,
kill you.
yeah,
This is a
and
very
look at
skilled
this.
individual.
You look at this. It's a sword he doesn't care about. He wasn't bothered that she had his father's sword against his throat. It was the fact is, what do you want me? And he was too busy. Oh, there's a woman holding me. Let me out there. Let me out the room. I'm
But
scared. And
the chase sequence was just
I know the woman
that,
chasing the
that is
two
what
men
I
and
would
they're running.
expect for an 3 and 4-year-olds playing tag or it.
Yeah, as I said, it's a case of
Let me write this. This is going to be really good. We're going to do this, and people are going to love us for it.
that's the problem. That's exactly what I hear when I see stuff like that. That's the type of age range that are writing this junk,
Yeah.
because he had
But
no interest in the sword. Truthfully, see if you think about it, what happened after Tom put the dagger through her neck? They said, right, let's go. So he goes to pick up the sword. What about his bow? What about his cloak? What about everything? You know he's going to have. But in effect, okay,
he
fine,
sword and they
I've got,
run that
I've got
direction,
the other,
whereas the logic was that direction.
I've
Just
got
go
the other
grab the
trollop.
bag and bow and everything.
This is Benji. This is the other one.
Oh,
So
clearly you chose to Iron Brew this evening.
yeah, the two of them are actually wanted to come up. Obviously, they just want to be on screen because we're talking about trollops, and these are my trollops. So,
But no,
but the thing is,
I know why they're actually coming up to you, because they're feeling your distress. They're feeling your pain. They're coming there to
yeah,
cheer you up, because this
that's
is
exactly it.
absolutely utter garbage. Even standalone, I have no reason to understand why Matt, Perrin, Rand, Lan. Maybe I would understand Moiraine as far as the story on the TV show is gone, why she would be there. I still have no sense of purpose of her mission or her reason or her, what's it called, raison d'etre.
Aye.
It,
Basically, that's the thing. They have got no concept of resin detra.
yeah.
But the thing is, like, go away. But the problem is with, right, if you've got Rand, you have to understand. Sorry, if you've got Moiraine and understand Moiraine, you have to understand Lan, because Lan is part and parcel. When you've got Moiraine, you've got Lan. The kids,
Well,
they don't.
I hope you have a high quality first aid kit when you come to the next seasons. Sorry, episodes.
Yeah. But the
Because you may
problem is,
have to have your wife on standby.
yeah. But the problem is, right, this episode actually made it easier because it was so bland and boring. I didn't
It's
care
very
enough.
generic, yeah.
It was generic. It's in effect, it's like watching Sharp, Sean Bean Sharp.
No,
Loved it.
Sharp
I
is
loved it.
light years ahead of this.
No, but I
Even though
loved
it's
the
scaled
books.
down, it
Yeah,
still brings
but
content and characters to life.
I loved the books years before it came on TV When I saw it on TV, I was a bit disappointed, but I could understand that they had to cut it away down because of budgetary constraints.
So
However,
impromptu poll here then. Sharp, the books versus the TV show. How, of a scale of 0 to -10, compare that now to Wheel of Time, the books, and the TV show. Where are
Yeah.
you on the scale? Just so I get the sense where you thought Sharp ended up and where Wheel of Time is.
well, on a scale of 1
-10.
1 to -10, when I first saw Sharp on the TV, I was about 5 because I could understand it, but they'd cut it down so much, I just thought it was silly. However, even the characters sort of agreed with me, apart from Hagman and maybe Harper. Those two sort of fitted into the two characters, but Sharp and Sean Bean just didn't actually gel. But later on, as I'd seen it, because my mum used to watch it quite a lot and loved it, I got more used to Sharp and Sean Bean being very similar because the way he played it. And so yes, it was scaled down, but it started going up in the estimations. This one, from a 0 to -10, I would say about 40, because I had my -10 was my expectations. When I saw the trailer, it went up a bit, but as soon as I saw the first episode, it fell, and it is still falling. It started slowing down just for the simple fact is it was so numb, so boring. Shush. It was so numb and so boring that I was actually starting to pick up my phone, check Twitter, because it was so boring. It wasn't even holding my interest with anger or anything. I wasn't fizzing with it. I was just thinking,
Yeah, but
boring.
I've lost even the exasperation. It's like, that makes no, what, how? I don't even have that. That like,
Yeah.
okay, it's like you got me hooked because I'm just going, really? You're messing everything up, and it's like, how can you literally go further? But I'm at this point, even by episode 3, it's like, just do your worst and let's get this over with.
Yeah, but the problem was, it's catching my headphones. But the problem was that it makes it easier after this one, because it was so mind-numbingly boring that I was not even angry at it. It was almost a case of, so yeah, we could
We're the 5 stages of the, what is it called, like denial or negotiation. So the first is anger. The next one is, was it negotiation?
No, is it
so
anger,
depression,
anger, denial,
denial, depression, negotiation, and acceptance, or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
They actually, yeah. And we've definitely cleared the first stage.
Yeah,
We're just heading toward the acceptance that yes, this is dead on arrival.
yeah. And the problem is, I find it easier now. Unlike the Sharp ones where it was okay, but it started getting worse. Put it this way. See, we were talking last night about Terry Pratchett and The Watch,
Mm-hmm.
and I was glad I didn't watch The Watch. I'm now wishing I did the same with Wheel of Time as I did with The Watch. Just kept it true with the books.
I will say by this stage, I have already made up my mind about the Lord of the Rings TV show coming. I am not watching it.
Aye.
I will go just to take a side.
I'll not even do that. I'll not even do that. So
For Lord of the Rings to be salvaged, even though I haven't seen it, no trailer, no nothing, I've stayed away from it. It will take the entire Friday Night Tights crew literally singing its hymn and saying, "We did not see this coming. This is absolutely amazing." But
see,
I
the
have a
problem
feeling
is-
we're gonna get heel versus babyface doing his Batwoman rants.
Yeah.
You're gonna have Nerdrotic and Brian and
Yeah.
the rest of them just going. It's like, I can't believe. I thought we were at the bottom. They found another depth.
Yep. It's basically that show was scraping the bottom of the barrels. Actually, they've turned the barrel over and they've started digging. That's the way I think. But the problem is, right, even things like Ghostbusters Afterlife, be getting good reviews from the guys from Friday Night Tights. They're not saying it's fantastic, but they're saying in comparison, it's an okay show.
Well, I've not seen it yet, but I'm assuming when they say it's good, I'm assuming they're still reeling from an event that shall be mentioned in 2016.
No, but the problem is, because of 2016, don't care if it's going to be good or not. I ain't watching it. And
I have no interest, but if it accidentally turns up on my TV when I have it on in the background, I might just be like you do your reviews. So when I said recommend, it wasn't me recommending, but boss level.
Yeah,
you let it go in the background first, and then you actually would just, I kind of like that, and then sat down and actually went into the details.
Yeah, and I quite understand it. So I know fine well for if there's one of the reviews, somebody says to me, do a review of that, and I go, yep. Like for instance, I got the boss level, and what was the other one? Free Guy.
You have a show schedule, by the way.
There it's here, right over there. Yeah.
Hello, here I am. No, as usual, I'm always ignored. Hello.
He can hear it because the speakers are either side. He's hearing it, so that's the thing.
Right. It doesn't come from where it should be coming from.
No.
But no, sorry, I did interrupt you. You were saying boss level and Free Guy.
But so if it's a case of I get what did I think of this, and I watch it to see that's different. But at the moment, I've got no plans to watch. That's the thing.
I will say, aside from boss level, Free Guy, I Am Dragon.
Hustle.
Which one?
What was the one? Nobody.
Nobody as well, yeah. That's been the saving graces for most of, shall we say, content of this year. Aside from connecting with you guys and rediscovering a little bit, it's like, oh, hey, it might actually be worth exploring stuff like the full range of Doctor Who. Because we did for the anniversary, the first episode, and I was just sitting and mesmerized. It's like, this is top tier quality content. I was just, it's like, no, it isn't, but it's very good compared to all the stuff I've been suffering through this year.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's the same as who was it? I got a new subscriber on Twitter, Julie, and she was talking about she just got Talons of Wen Chiang. So I told her we did it for 100 subscribers, and I says it's one of my favourite Tom stories, and I said have a look at it, and it's that, and it's that thing, mate. It's the fact is people are actually coming back to stuff like that. Yeah, there you go.
Because I know Amazon and holy crap, and all those holy woke people are probably watching this stuff here, what we're complaining about, and then they're like fishing out when you're mentioning stuff that is good. I am not going to ever mention one of the last good fantasy book series that's still out there. Happy to hear that it still has not been picked up. I do have my Google alerts and everything set up to hear when bounding into comics or any of these news sources that talks about geek culture. And I'm dreading the day I will hear the name of this book series. But I am not mentioning it myself because it will not allow the crap producers over there to actually go, oh, that sounds like a good thing. We're going to pick it up. No,
the problem is, if there's a book out there, somebody's actually reading it, trying to think, oh, I can make this into a TV show because they did it with this, they did it with that, they did it with this, they did it with that. and that's the problem. Every book out there is under scrutiny. The good thing is some authors are turning around and going, nope, you ain't getting your hands on mines. And that's the good thing. But you look at it, some of the best, and they take it and actually say, we can do better. We can take the watch and make it steam. We can take Lord of the Rings and make it diverse. We can take Wheel of Time and make it very female centric.
You see, on a lot of things, even including Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is massively more diverse, right on the surface, compared to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But Lord of the Rings, the reason people fell in love with it is because it had a massive world of back-building stories. There was a reason you had your hobbits, your elves, your Numenors, your Ents, the Gondor, the Orcs, the Uruk-hai. The difference between them is what built the world, and you kind of understood why it is. But if you compare the book version of Tolkien's description of Lord of the Rings, this would be diverse to such a muddled level that in Emond's Field, Uruk-hai, Orcs, Numenors, Gondor, Ents, Halflings, all of them are living in the same village, and it's no big deal.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's how muddled it's become. You're supposed to be allowed to go, if you follow the book, you're supposed to be allowed to travel across an amazing expanse of a world, discover different culture, understanding why someone reasons it one way and reasons another way, and takes this decision rather than that decision. But as far as I've seen it, and no spoilers so far, I cannot tell you the difference between any of the Tuatha and a people that the TV show said comes from Emond's Field. Not once. I can't tell any unique difference.
See, do you know when it'll show? Do you know when it will show? It will show when they hit the borderlands. Because in Emond's Field, there's such a diverse group, right? There's such a diverse group. And Lan said he's a borderland, right? So if they go to the borderlands and they're another diverse group, how can you tell?
Yep.
So if Lan has got a Oriental look, then everybody in the borderlands should have an Oriental look. If they've not, then the fact that he's a borderlander should make zero difference. That's the problem.
But seeing
That's
how they
where
trash
the
the stories
different
for
areas are.
everyone so far.
That's where the different areas of things. So if the Two Rivers were predominantly black or Indian or something like that, and Rand stood out, that works. Or if they've just got, they're all white and Rand's got the hair, whereas they might be shorter and all dark hair, that works. Because
But I will say this. I would have
Rand
liked.
didn't stand out because half the people there were white, and half of them, some of them had grey hair, so you don't know what colour the hair was. Some of them had blonde hair, so he didn't stand out. He did not stand out at all.
They had the perfect casting here in Egwene and Rand. Why didn't it make the rest of the village having more Indian/Asian looking
Darker
heritage?
skin, even
Not just
the
darker
ones that
skin,
were,
and then make his father just a little bit more light skinned, so he would even stand out compared to the rest of the village. So there might have been a reason why Rand is really tall. Well,
no, but
reddish hair.
they could explain that anyway, even if the father looked like the rest, because his mother, all they needed to see his mother was an outlander.
Exactly, but he would have been such an easy visual change, and you
Yes.
could have kept your wokeness.
But
You could have kept your wokeness.
even if they had, it was predominantly darker skinned people, they could still have white people who have got a sallow skin.
Mm-hmm.
you've got like the Italian
Italian,
a
Greek.
darker skin, so you can get away with that. But as long as everybody's got a darker skin in their hair, then you can say they're all from the same area.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if they're some of them have got dark, really dark skin, or some of them have got slightly lighter skin, but they're from. It doesn't matter if they've got. They all have to have a trait of some description, and they all having dark hair and having a darker skin across the board. And
But then
Rand
it could
stands
still
out.
have been a massive difference in skin tones and everything, but it would have to be something like, oh, they seem to be from this place. But if I hadn't known who Padan Fane was, I couldn't tell you if this was someone coming home to the village or just someone coming and visiting.
Yeah, and the fact is, it didn't stand out because in the show, Rand stood out. But if you look at the very first episode with the trailer, he stood out because a lot of the people it showed had darker skin. So him being pale with the red hair and a bit taller, he stood out. But as soon as you get into the first episode, they go round the tavern and there's a lot of people with light skin, but they've got blonde hair or grey hair. So he doesn't stand out. So suddenly,
Exactly. I will give,
it's
there is
just
a
one of the guys.
little bit of, shall we say, an oddity, even if you look at the book. I will give its exaggerated characteristics, but you have ginger, pale skin people, and where do they come from? The deepest, not darkest, the deepest, brightest, hottest desert there is, the wasteland. In theory, they should at least be well tanned.
Sallow skinned.
But with sallow skin, but ginger people, speaking as one, as soon as I turn the light on in the ceiling, I need to put on sun protecting factor 50.
Yeah.
That's how sensitive. Not all gingers, but a lot of gingers live go. Son, if you think of the IT crowd where Noel is walking out the first time from his dark, like the hidden away room, and he's coming out, it's like bright light. That is essentially ginger. So
Yeah.
there is a little bit of the flip side, but it lends it so well to the book and describing the world. It's like, okay, well, maybe they have different genomes or DNAs, and just because you're pale skin, you're not that susceptible to strong sunlight. Like we're talking, it's desert. It's 50 degrees plus, literally burning sun rays in the day. During the nighttime, it's the reverse side. If anyone that's ever been to a desert, it's super hot during the day, and it's literally flipping to the reverse during the night. It's freezing cold. So still, hardy, stern, tough people, these animals.
See, but the book, even though things like that sort of thing, but the fact is, it lets them be distinguished as a people. So, and that's what I'm saying, where Rand sticks out, that in the book, people mention it. Oh, I've never seen that colour outside the race. But we'll go back to Evans Field. Look, there's a load of white guys there, and there's some with blonde hair. There's ones with grey hair, so you don't know what colour their hair was when they were younger. So how does he stand out? Because there's a lot of pale people. He's pale. He's got ginger hair, but there's blonde. So there's a strawberry blonde. There's a really pale blonde. There's somebody with brown hair. There's somebody with black hair. How does he stand out? Explain to me how he stands out.
It circles back to the fact that the story writer, well, the script writers for the TV show have no clue how to tell a story, because they even include, and I would say it was kind of like a nice touch when the kids start singing the song of Manethran or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when Moraine leaps into explaining what it is, you get something so not belonging for the TV show. She describes a proudful people, long lineage of history, strength, brotherhood, companionship, sturdiness.
But they all look different.
Which means that they would have stayed put. They would not be this intermingled and have everything. Which is why in Ailman, like Ran, sorry, spoilers, would stand out. But I have a feeling they're just going to dump his Ailman story completely because
Oh,
they've thrown everything else away already.
you can guarantee it. The fact that they're mentioning the hair now, I'm thinking maybe they're going to go down that route, but I think no. I think something's going to change, that it's going to be somebody else or something else. They're not going to actually highlight him in any way at all.
Yeah.
Rand's got his dagger. Perrin's still not got an axe, but he's got the wolf. So Matt's going to only have the dagger. That is it. I don't think they're ever going to get rid of the dagger for Matt at all. Perrin's got his wolf,
Trying to not
so
spoil
they're not
stuff for
going to
you.
give him an axe or a hammer. He's going to have the wolves. That is it.
I
Rand,
have a feeling he's going to have the wolves, or he's going to be able to transform into wolves himself because they haven't
Yeah.
read the content. So he's going to be a werewolf or something.
see, I think, yes, he's going to have the wolves to protect him, so he doesn't need an axe. He will not have an axe or a hammer.
But wolves are
he'll-
going to be useless in
he'll-
cities.
Fail will not be coming into it either. I don't think she'll appear. Fael,
Which one?
his wife
Oh, yeah. Yep.
of the future, I think she's never going to appear in it because the way they started the story, it's not going to go down. That's the way I think. So Fael's not going to come into it. So he's not going to actually rescue Gaul. So that's not going to come into it
Mm-hmm.
because they've already had a eel in a cage, and Matt was the one that tried to rob him. So Matt is just going to be just this nasty piece all the way through, a thief, a robber, whatever, a womanizer, and he's just going to be that all
You
the way
actually
through.
putting forward something scary here. I'm going to have to look up the name because
Yeah,
the
but
name is escaping. It is a very crucial role, but I
Abienda,
think no, not Avienda.
Elaine. I don't think Elaine's going to appear because if Elaine appears, definitely Gawad is not going to appear because you're not going to have her brother.
I'm thinking of someone far more crucial.
Min Farshaw. She's going.
Min is definitely not going to be in this at all. They have no concept to be able to tell anything like that. Oh,
They
she's
can't have
she's
Min
one
and
of the
Abienda.
Forsaken. She's the Forsaken.
Oh, Lanfear.
Lanfear. She's not going to be in it at all because what love interest do any of the boys really have that is worthy of exploiting?
But Lanfear's going to be the one who's manipulating everything. She's going to be the spider in the web, manipulating all the Forsaken, all of them. So, seeing how it was Beelzebub who and Shaitan is pretending to be Shaitan. So you had Samael, the one that she mentioned, counting a penny. Lanfear's the one that's actually telling him what to do. Lanfear's the one that's going to be sitting at the top, telling all them what to do. So Lanfear's going to be in it.
If they bring Lanfear in, she's going to be the queen of Shaitan or the ruler of Shaitan. If you
she's going to be Shaitan. That's what I'm saying. Seeing how you've got the Dark Lord, then below him you had Samael who pretends to be him, and he lets him do it. I think the one above him is going to be Lanfear telling him to do that, but she's the one below the Dark One. So you've got the Dark One, you got Lanfear, then you've got the rest of the Forsaken doing what she says.
Yeah, because following the wokeness path here,
yes,
they will not put Lanfear as Shaitan because they need a man to blame. Oh, you did this horrible thing. But
yes, but she's going to be the one. She's going to be the one that's power behind the throne. She's going to be the power behind the throne. She's going to be the one that's guiding all them. So Lanfear.
How is the resolution going to happen?
Because
we can't kill Shaitan because he's a man and he's the one making sure that one source is bad. So we can't kill him, so therefore we need to keep him and we don't kill him. And
because you know fine well, Egwene or Nynaeve are going to be the dragon, which means the dragon's going to be defeat that one, which means Lanfear is going to get beaten by another woman. Simple as that. Or Lanfear is going to be the one behind, but Shaitan will be the one that gets defeated, which will leave Lanfear, and she'll be still sitting in the
Should
background.
be
She'll be the new one.
Maleficent.
She's going to be the new one. She's going to be the one that will pull all the strings, even though they think they've defeated the big bad. She's sitting back going,
Actually, the points we are talking about here, I'm actually thinking that there could be a way of salvaging. They can't. Amazon, the TV guys, they cannot. But we got this launching platform. We know how much the story's been destroyed. We know sort of where they're aiming. I think there is still a possibility if you cut out anyone that has written or done anything so far, and you put in someone, say, Shadiversity and Critical Drinker, you put them in a room together for 6 months, get them as drunk as they need to, or as many swords they want to, they would actually probably be able to save it, still stick with the path that has already been set out, but make it really good. But I have massive
because of
fear.
the first season, I think that will be difficult no matter
No.
what.
I'm talking to episode 3, not the full first.
Well, even at that,
where we are now, you could still save, and you could still bring in a lot of the crucial points.
they could bring a lot of the crucial points, but they've missed so much. I don't think they can, because the fact that they've got Perrin murdering his wife, his pregnant wife, sorry, accidentally killing her.
I do have a little bit of faith, having read a little bit of what Critical Drink has done. Unfortunately, Shad, if you ever watch this, I've only read like the backside of it. It's on my still to buy list. I will definitely try and have a look at them. They got good creative storytelling. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that because of Perrin's start, they will have to surgically remove the whole Wolf Brothers saga bit completely, because it will not make any sense.
Mhm.
But they could probably save his character for something.
See, the problem is, I think the characters are already destroyed. They've got Matt as a thieving, nasty piece of work. He'll steal off a dead body. He's a womanizer. He's quite happy to do all that. So Matt's a lost hope. Perrin is a lost hope.
Stop before you jump too far ahead. So if we stay on Matt, I like the starting part. You kind of got the gist that they tried to build the character, but I so quickly realized that this is not Matt. They're trying to build the character, and it gave him a little bit of flavor, in-depth reason why he steals, because he's protecting his sisters, all of that. They tried, but it is
you could get to an extent why he was maybe a wee bit light-fingered, but not to the extent he's nasty with it. Bedding a woman, then stealing her stuff, then just basically ignoring her. It's different. It's not a case of he's maybe a light fingered around the Padding Fane. He would steal a wee bit of his stuff and sell it on to someone. He's stealing from the people he lives with and selling it to Padding Fane. That's a bit different. So he's stealing it from people he's close to, not stealing it from strangers to help his family. He's stealing it from his friends and his relationships. So he's a nasty piece of work.
Yes.
That's the thing. They try to, but that's the type of thing they are. They're the ones that are the nasty pieces of work and think this is acceptable.
Exactly. And I blame it on the writers, because you can tell that they're stereotypical thinking of what people are. Because you're this, therefore you do all of this. They are, like you say, nasty pieces of work. But let's move on to Rand.
Rand is a non-entity, a wimp. He's standing there in a room with the woman with the sword, and what's he doing? Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Really? And
but the
then
whole
he
scene
runs away
is so
and
childish. She's holding a sword to him in a tiny room, and he's just going, "Oh, can you move the sword out of the way so I can take a charge at the door?"
No, but
essentially like
before he even takes the charge at the door, you look at him. When you first see him in the second, he's standing there going, Egwene! Egwene! Shouting because he's trying to get her. Then when he's in the room with the woman, and she's, oh, hello, don't. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a wee bit too strong for you there. And then she locks the door and takes his sword. And what does he do? He turns to the door and giving it the help, help. Really?
Exactly. What
If they
was
taken the
this?
male, exactly, they've taken the male role and the female role and switched them. And they're
No,
the
not even that. Uh, if that would have been a woman,
no,
she
but
would be
that's the old.
scratching and crawling for like the locks and everything. She would try to find the solution because she would know she can't break the door physically down.
No, that's
She would
somebody
try
who's
to
watched
find
the
the
old
unlocking
movies.
mechanism.
That's somebody's watched the old TV shows and movies where the female was the damsel in distress. Help me, protect me, somebody.
And
Because
not
of
only
this,
that, this is written by someone who has never interacted with someone of the opposite gender, or if even the same gender, if you
somebody of the
happen to
same
be on
gender.
that then, but they haven't had the human interaction. You
Yep.
do not react this way.
But it's the fact is they had Rand. So Rand is a non-entity. He is a wimp. He's running away from. He's shouting, "Egwene, come and get me, Egwene!" And he's stopped by a woman who's a very aggressive woman. Help me, help me, help me! And then he runs away from her and stuff like that. And it's a case of so Rand is a no-hoper. He is a wimp. He's a lost cause. So
And,
you've got Perrin,
and one
and
more
you've got
thing, it makes no sense he would call out for Egwene because by the time they left each other at Shadow Logo, she has shown no signs of magical capabilities, no reason why she would be able to save someone, no reason why she is stronger than him that is like 2 feet taller than her.
and also the fact that he's miles and miles and miles away from the Shadow Loco, because you can see it away in the distance, and he's shouting as if he could call her from all this. It's just
Exactly. It's
he is a no
childish.
hope. So Matt's a no hoper waste of space. Rand is a no hoper waste of space. Perrin,
I'm saving Perrin for later. Let's
right?
move in on Nynaeve.
Nynaeve is a nasty piece of work, unlikable, uncaring, a biatch. So she's a nasty piece of work. So she, to me, in the context of the story, is a no hoper. I don't care enough about her. So that's
Yeah.
3 of the 5 that are great in the book are nothing.
No,
They are
you used the wrong word. They are amazing in the book. Story, background,
yeah, but no, I'm saying they're
art,
the
everything.
favourites in the books. They're favourites because they're so good. Whereas in this show, they're 3 no hopers. Don't care enough. If any one of them get killed off, don't care.
Actually, if
Literally
there's
don't
someone
care.
that's gonna get killed off by episode 3, the way I would rank them, I'd push Nynaeve so far ahead of the queue she wouldn't be able to see number 2 in the line.
No, see, I wouldn't care. Any one of those 3. They basically don't care enough about Matt. Yet in the book, he's absolutely superb. Wouldn't care enough about Rand. And Rand, I loved in the book. Nynaeve, I literally do not care about her either. So none of the characters of those 3 I care enough about. If any one of the 3 get killed,
The only one of those 3 that we've covered so far, Rand is the only one that actually has utility. And you know what that is? He's the one carrying the Heron Mark blade.
no, but that's
No, he's literally he's just holding it. He doesn't do anything. He's just holding it
no,
and
but
carrying
they've
it
made
from
the
point to
Heron
point.
Mark blade irrelevant because apart from showing the Heron Mark once, literally once, it's never
You know
ever
they're gonna
mentioned.
give it to Egwene.
No, but the fact is, they've made zero. It's never been Heron marks have never been mentioned. So apart from you seeing it on screen, that's all. It was only a visual for a second.
Yeah, but it's gonna be
No,
final moment,
I
episode 8. Hey, you remember this sword? Oh, look at this. I'm
no
stabbing Shaitan
the thing
in the
the thing
heart.
no the thing is the swords are going to be made irrelevant because they're not being mentioned at all. So I think they're literally Heron Mark swords. Ignore them. The magic's the important stuff. It's the magic it's going to do it. It's not going to be steel
It's a,
because
fa-
that's a
it's a
man.
fair
That's a
It's a fair
man's weapon.
observation. This is supposed to be sword and sorcery,
Yeah,
but
but it's
swords
not.
have been very much cut out of
Yeah,
everything we've seen
because
so far.
swords are very masculine weapon. So they're cut, they're gone. The only reason they showed you the herring mark on it was because it was in the book. So they showed it, and it was a
No,
wee. Only,
I don't think even that. They may have seen, like you have an amazing backdrop, fan artwork, and everything. This might actually be from one of the books.
it is one of the books. Each of the
Yeah,
backdrops are done as the books.
but exactly, they may have seen that. It's like, oh, that looks like a cool sword, and then they screwed up. There's a sign on the sword. It's like, oh, okay, at
Yeah,
least the
but,
Heron Mark blade is in there, but
but
it's
that's what I'm saying. But
one.
you only see it for a
There's
second.
supposed to be a lot of them because there are supposed to be quite a few sword masters or
Yes,
blade
but
masters.
the problem is at this point you've only seen two, and it would be Lands and Rands, and you've not even seen Lands. You've seen
You
his
haven't seen
sword,
Lance at all
but there's
yet.
been no mention of Heron. That's what I'm saying. The Heron mark is irrelevant in this TV show because apart from showing it for a second, swords, you'd never even see Rand going on about how it's his dad's sword. That even when she's got the sword, he's running. It's not a case of he's going to Matt, but how do I get my dad's sword? And even when she gets stabbed, he sort of looks over and then he picks up because it's there. Yet they're implying that they need to get out. So they're going back for their cloak, their bow, anything. Doesn't sound like it because they're running because of that. Did you see what I
But
mean? So the
it,
sword
it's
irrelevant.
such a huge thing, and this is upsetting me more from the book version than from the film version. It is. It's not exactly a sangreal for Rand, the sword, but it is a pivotal. It's like a very crucial point when he has to do certain fights and defend himself. It is him and the sword, but that could easily be the void and the flame or
Yeah,
whatever.
but there'll never be a time when Rand needs to use the sword
No, I don't think Rand
because
is ever going to step up at all.
he's never because he's the weak, he's the wimp. The fact that they had him breaking down the door to me was a surprise because what's that got to do with anything? The fact that he's suddenly got power. If they're implying that he's suddenly the dragon because look, he can break down the door, what has that got to do with the power? They're
Yeah, but
implying
even
power.
that scene, look at how much screen time Nynaeve and
They're
Egwene's
implying
been
he's
given,
He-Man. They're
implying
implying he's
that.
He-Man. I have the power. Are they going to go down that route? That the only way you can show a man having power is because he becomes strong and knocks down doors, not using the one power. Because the first one you saw who was using the power, he was crazy because he was seeing the guy next to him. The next one you see who's been using the power, he's in a cage, matter of time.
Mm.
And it's that type of thing. What, but to me, the sword is going to be irrelevant. Rand is a wimp. He's a weakling. The fact that he burst down that door, it's almost like we'll make him into a He-Man. The sword and I have the power and all this pish.
Oh,
That's the
dear
nearest they're
God.
going to have it. To me, if they're going to mention it, that's the nearest they're going to go down that route.
No,
However,
I have a far easier explanation to keep it with the woke people. Oh no, the reason he could break down the door is because a clumsy man installed the hinges the wrong way, so therefore it was a really weak door and easily to
yeah,
break
but
down.
the fact that
It's
she
crappy.
says it's ironwood, and then when he belts it and it rattles, even she goes like that, as if how did he manage to do that?
Really?
Where did he
She
get the
just
power?
goes, that's an ironwood, and she just goes, "Tum," and you can actually see it's actually moved because obviously the actor, Lucas, or whatever his name is, even if he's trying to not like actually put his weight in, if he's leaning on something, it will move a bit. But she's just going, don't care. And
Yeah,
she's just like watching out the window. It's like no one can hear you scream. But really, you're looking out through an open window to see someone coming, and there is Rand making all this ruckus, and you have the window wide open. They're
yeah.
not gonna hear you come. It's like,
But the fact is, right, so she's saying it's out the way, but when they run right into the thing.
they literally run
But the
around the
fact
barracks.
is, even he belts the door and it rattles. You see her even going as if to say, "How did that move?" Because she said, "How did you do that?" And then he hits it again and it flies. right? But the fact is, that makes zero sense in context of anything. So where did they suddenly get that power? Are they going to give it the sword and the power? I am the He-Man type. A man gets that type of power rather than the magic power. You see what I mean? That's what I'm saying. That's the way. Why did they manage to belt down the door, suddenly have all that extra power? And they give him the He-Man route, and that's what I'm saying. The sword, the knocking down the door, the
If
He-Man.
it's being He-Man, please don't let it be Kevin Smith's He-Man. But
No,
for
but
me, Rand is, like you said, it's non-entity. For me,
yeah,
at this point, and I wish I could say it gets better, but at this point, and I need whiskey after the stream. At this point, he's so much written off. You, even if he in the TV show really do become the dragon, why should you care? He has no background. He has no reason. There is nothing explaining why he would be the dragon
yeah.
at all.
The problem is, I
gone.
think because he's a known entity, he ain't going to be the dragon. I still don't know why they decided to have him belt down the door and suddenly get the power to do it, because it makes zero sense in context of the book or the TV show. Because remember, the magic is the one power is different. It has to be all
It's
this. So
external,
it's
not
not the power.
internal, but that's
And
the
so
point.
why did he suddenly manage to do it? And then somebody actually said, well, he's always got the sword with him and he gets the power. Well, it must be like He-Man. That's what I'm thinking, because somebody's written the one power this particular way. They've done the witches, the Tarvalin witches have to get burnt because this is their understanding. So there's the guy with the sword suddenly getting
Yep.
power. But does that mean it's the
But
sword?
he
giving him
doesn't
the
even
power?
have the sword in his hand when he writes down the
But
door.
that's not the point. It's the fact is, in the book, Rand, the sword, and the one power are all for the first couple of books. So somebody's actually been reading it. As I said, it's Cliff Notes. The is the White Cloaks call them the Tarvalin witches. Oh well, we need one getting burnt at the stake because White Cloaks witches, so they must burn them at the stake. Rand, sword, the one power. What does that tell you? Oh, and I'm talking about the way these guys are thinking. Is the fact is, it has to be a He-Man. So the fact that he can burst down the door, it makes zero sense in the context of the one power or the books, or is the fact that he suddenly got the power that he never had. But the fact that he's, that's all I'm saying is that's the way
I get where you're coming from, but
I'm
not
hoping
on
to go
Friday. It
wrong.
will be
But
Saturday. I'll watch the sixth one. But you're actually making me scared, and I think subconsciously I will be keeping an eye on the entire screen and going, if there's a green little kitten in the background, I'm just gonna go, no, I'm absolutely out.
Yeah. Right, so we've done 3. The next one, pairing. I'll leave the 2 girls to that. I'll leave Egwene.
No
So
more rain.
I'll go to
We all
Moiraine and Land here.
good night.
Moiraine and Land, right? But pairing. They've done the one thing they constantly complain that male writers do: fridging a woman to give a man backstory.
Mm.
The one thing
But
they
even so,
constantly
there's
complain
no
that
reason
women get
for
fridged to
guaranteed.
give a man a reason for doing something. And what did the first thing they do? Fridge a woman. They get him to kill his pregnant wife to give him that angst.
Here's the kicker. You made her pregnant. We're at episode 3. At no point has the unborn child ever been mentioned. Even the fact that they made it abundantly clear that she's pregnant. And not only does he just kill her, like an accidental axe throw and it hits her in the head and unfortunately she dies from that. No, complete swipe to the belly. There is no doubt she dies, but the kid, from an impact like that, would have been dead. No question whatsoever. No Moray, no Aes Sedai would have saved that. at all. That is a very calculated place where he's hitting her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These woke twats have actually done the one thing they constantly complain that the old trope was a woman dying to give a man a backstory or an angst or a reason or something. That's why they call it fridging. And what did they do? They fridged the woman to give Perrin an angst. And basically, and the thing is, they've taken his axe, they've taken his hammer, they've taken the fact that he was an assistant to a master blacksmith out the window. Because, but even that Brandon Sanderson, which I think he destroyed the final 3 books, The Wheel of Time, because I think the way he wrote it, it was almost a case of, well, I want to add my stuff in. So he added things in that had never been mentioned before, and they changed, and you're sitting there thinking, where the fuck did these come from? There's no mention of it until you got your hands in the books, and now there's these other things appearing. No, I want you to wind down Robert Jordan's story, not start your own and add your own bits into it. But anyway,
you're supposed to do one and just go, oh, hang on, I got 3 books here.
Aye, but he said, oh, there's a wee bit too much for one story, for one book, so I'll make 3. But the 3 books are the 3 books are like that. Exactly. If 3 books are like that, there's no way on earth Robert Jordan wrote enough for 3 books that size, because there's no way his story would have finished in 1 book, and he's done is finished, he's changed it, and he's added his bits in, which expanded it, which if you cut all the bits that he added in, would have took it down to 1 book, and it might have actually been better, but I doubt it, because I think because he was writing somebody else's story, he didn't know how to do it. Anyway, that's irrelevant. That's a different thing completely. But the fact is, he says that he disagreed with the fact that Perrin killed his wife, or even that he was married. He had floated that he should have killed Master Luhan.
Yeah. And we would have fit in with woke culture.
Should
no, it would have fit in with woke culture and everything. It was like, oh, it's just another man dying. Don't worry about that.
But that's the thing. They wanted to give Perrin an angst, so they had to kill someone. But they didn't. He wanted to kill Master Luhan, whereas they decided to kill his wife. And you're sitting there thinking,
his wife that he didn't have.
Exactly. But the fact is, why did they need to kill anyone? Because Perrin was always not slow-witted, slow acting because of his size, but
deliberately pensive and thinking and considerate about his actions.
To me, this Perrin isn't broad enough. He's tall enough, but he's not broad enough to actually say that about him, because he didn't look powerful at all. So if you got someone who was a bit bulkier, then you can get away with it. But because he's just tall and he's broad for his height, doesn't make him any more powerful.
I don't know this actor. I would say he's within the parameters of what Perrin would be. But Perrin, no, I'm saying this. Perrin, thousands of hours in the forge, hundreds of degrees constantly blasting you in the face every single day for hours on end, constantly banging on steels and everything. He would have muscles rippling. He would not be baby-faced as this actor is. He would not be
you can get away with the baby face. You could get away with the baby face. You could get away with the baby face because of the age they were meant to be. However, he was tall, but he wasn't broad, and that's the point. He wasn't broad, so that's why they didn't go down the route of, because he's so powerful, he thinks things through, because he realizes he could hurt someone, because he's powerful. Because the guy they've got, that doesn't actually work. If that guy had bulked up and actually looked as if he could actually bench press a car, you could actually go down the route as, because he's so powerful, he thinks things through. But they couldn't do that because they couldn't. They decided, no, we'll take him. he doesn't mad, so we can't go down that route. So we need to give him somehow other reason to be angstful. And hence the
Again,
reason
as I said, don't know this actor, probably really good, and can't fault him playing the cards that are dealt in the TV show. There is nothing jarring. There is not like I'm supposed to say this, and then they chose that like really off acting. He's doing well what he's been told. Don't think he's ever read the books or anything, but for me, he doesn't feel that considerate, deliberate action that Perrin has from the books.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so big and strong, as you say, he's being deliberately careful. He's like the bull in a china shop. He's just going, oh, crap, I might hurt someone. Be careful.
That's like somebody taking a poodle and telling them they're a bull in a china shop. This is how you have to act. And this guy who's tall is thinking, right, I have to act as if I'm broad and muscular. And they're saying, but you're not. Aye, but I have to act that way. But you're not that way. Aye, but if I act that way, people will believe me. Yeah, but people will watch. And that's the problem. Perrin is another one who's a non-entity. He's a money because I killed my wife. We don't care because guess what? A, it wasn't in the book, and B, you're effectively done what everybody complained that you're complaining male writers did. Fridge the wife, or fridge the woman.
Which is why, even from episode 1, Perrin is just like, he's the first one yeeted out of the story. Yep. No relevance. He doesn't need the screen time after episode 1. So
him being there, don't care enough about. And yet that's one of the best characters in the book, Perrin.
Which to me, and I might be paranoid, but just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that someone isn't out to get you. But it feels to me there might have been some people read it. It's like, oh, there's so many people loving Perrin. I've even heard rumors that on Reddit, there used to be the Sons of the White Cloak thread or anything. People that used to just subscribe, not post, are actually getting their social media profiles flagged and temporarily banned and suspended. I'm just going, why? They're discussing the difference between the books and the TV show and going, this is where it splits.
That's because you're getting people who are woke pieces and they're saying that our stuff is better than yours and stop this saying that ours is not as good as yours. So stop it. And that's why they're getting them banned. Because they're saying, wait a minute, that's not in the book. Oh, banned because you're bad, because our stuff is better. And that's the problem. These nutcases think their stuff is better when they're taking the stuff, saying it's really good, then changing it and saying it's better because we've made it worse. It's like turning a bar of chocolate. It's like the old, was it American Pie or one of those movies, whereas the guy wakes up and does that, and they says, what we did was we put a Snickers bar down his trunks, so he thinks he's crapped himself. Remember the bit was the it was the one with Dan Aykroyd, wasn't it? Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, Animal House.
No. It is the Caddyshack. Remember?
Oh, yes.
He's doing the swimming pool, and he comes up
the floating Snickers bar
and eats it. They all think it's a floater. That's exactly what it is. These guys are actually got a floater, a proper one, and going, Snickers bar. Yeah, this is really good. And that's the problem. They're seeing something that they're saying, oh, that's like Caddyshack, but actually that's a real floater. Aye, but it was really funny in Caddyshack, so I'll tell everybody this is the same. So we're meant to take that crap and actually pretend that it's Caddyshack. And that's the problem. These people take something that they know is good, change it, and then tell you it's better, even though they've made it crap. So they've taken the Snickers bar in Caddyshack, turned it into a piece of crap, and told you that it still is funny with Bill Murray eating a piece of shite rather than a Snickers bar, and the hilarity with it. That's the problem. So you've got 4 characters out of the 5, and they're all a waste of space.
Gone. They're gone.
They're gone. Any one of them dies, we don't care. Then you've got Egwene.
No, I have no reason to like her.
exactly.
they're
She's
pouring
unlikable.
every single pot of honey they can on top of this young lady.
Mhm.
She's perfect. She's flawless. She can never do anything wrong.
Yeah.
They've actually even kicked
Right.
out Nynaeve of her story. There is no reason that this younger than Nynaeve girl should be this mature, this clever, this brilliant, this
But
powerful.
Nynaeve is the same age as them, so it makes no difference. So why would Nynaeve actually take her as an apprentice? Because the two of them grew up together, they're the same age.
They do make a bit of the distinction between them in the beginning. So Nynaeve is actually getting told, oh, you're what, 24, 25?
Yeah, but
But
they said
they don't expand on it. So you assume all of them are 24, 25.
yeah. The fact is as well, they said that there was only 4 Kavaren instead of the 5. Yet Moiraine highlights the fact that she was not born in the Two Rivers and she was taken out.
Three,
No, but
three
remember,
Taveren.
no,
The rest are just caught up.
no, remember, they mentioned in the TV show, we're talking about the TV show, not the books, that there was
Yeah,
4
no. But yes, in the
right?
TV show, even with its episode 3, there are now 5.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. So they said there was 4, yet they did say to Nynaeve, they highlighted the fact that she wasn't born in the Two Rivers and she was adopted in. So you see what I mean? So suddenly there's the 5 of them. It's one of those 5. But they mentioned 4 Kavaren, but they highlighted Nynaeve for not being born in the Two Rivers. And then that's the point. That's why I'm saying it's either Egwene or Nynaeve is going to be the dragon.
If Nynaeve's
I
going to be
think
the
it's
dragon,
Nynaeve. I
and I
think it's
know
Nynaeve.
Nynaeve would win, because obviously they would write that way, but I would just be their popcorn. It's like, bad guy obviously wins this, because they can't kill the guy, because if they kill the guy, all the men become good again.
Yeah.
I would just
The
sit and
thing
just
is,
like flip.
so Egwene, the fact is the Egwene character, she's a non-entity. She's boring. She's not interesting. And what she's the protector of Rand. She makes sure he's going to be fine. He's just such a boy and all that fish. So any one of the 5 characters, the 5 favourite characters in the book are non-entities. Then it takes you to, there's 2 other ones. There is, well, Lan and Moiraine, in effect, are one and the same.
Moiraine is not even a star in her own production.
Yeah. Moiraine in
Which
the
I
book
really
is
find
far
weird.
superior. Moiraine in the book is likable at the beginning. She is driven and still likable. She does things and she's still likable.
She
Lan,
has to play the
same idea.
Tarvalon policy.
She has got things. He's got things to do. The things he has to protect. Still likable in the books. In this, don't care. Anyone she gets stabbed, although it didn't happen in the book. Good. Maybe she'll die. Yeah, no problem. Will it bother me if any of them die? No. Would I care if any of them die? No. That's the problem. And then you've got one who's still to come in. Loyal. And I'm
As I said, I
not
do
looking
not
forward to it.
mean to spoil anything, but you know what level we are at this moment.
Mhm.
Have your wife with a first aid kit and especially a defibrillator unit on standby. She might need 2 defibrillator units.
Well, she actually has sponsored a defib unit, so she knows exactly where they are. However,
She just might need them.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So far, all the characters that were in the book that are in it are non-entities. Even the Trollocs and
How about Padam
the
Fane?
Fade, Padden Fane is boring. He just he let me buy this thing and then he's sort of having a wee pipe and smiling at the Trollocs, then turns away and walks away. He's a non-entity in it. He's not even uninteresting. He's a non-entity. He appears, buys a bit of jewellery, sees all the Trollocs, smiles and walks away.
Yeah.
Wow, that was really interesting. Of a character that's going to pop up and do all these things later on because the book says so. But is he going to do it? Who cares? because he's a
Hey,
no-name.
who cares? I have literally zero reason to care for anyone that has been introduced.
Yeah.
Actually, I do
So-
care for one. I will give this. I hope Leandrin kills the lot of them.
I was actually hoping Matt from Time would do it.
It could be one, but no.
Yeah. But right,
They have
so-
thrown away such amazing depth they could have done. And
Mhm.
you know what? If they stayed closer to the book, they could have played 100% their woke politics,
Yeah.
and still stuck to the book and
Yeah.
played it and going, oh, we the small minority oppressed ones. Oh, everybody else hates the LGBTQ plus MNIGO, ABCD.
Yeah.
You could have played that within and not stray at all from the story, because it
Exactly.
has the diversity, depth, everything. It
The
is
problem
within
is
there,
they're
and it
more
would have
interested in
jarred.
actually putting out those messages than actually telling a story. That's always the same. Anyway, we'll get ready to wind up, but there's a couple of things like episode 1. Oh, it was a -10. Episode 2 was slightly better. Yeah. Episode 3, what would you say?
I'm still waiting for the nuclear bomb to go. It's still falling.
Yeah.
I have no rating for it. It's
Unfortunately,
still falling.
Episode 3 was a snooze fest. Even for something it was rattling my brains for episode 1, where I would stop every after the first minute I would stop and rant and rave. After the next 5 minutes I would stop and rant and rave. The second one, when I was watching it, I was sort of grinding my teeth, but it wasn't making me I could get through it just with a bit of grinding my teeth. This one, I was literally I was almost falling asleep. I was checking my phone because it was boring. It wasn't even enough to even get me riled up. I didn't grind my teeth. I just did not care. Things that were happening on the screen, it could have been a blank screen. It would have just been as interesting.
Could have been the Ant War. You know,
Yeah.
the waking up back in the day. You fell asleep, the TV's on, you're waking up, and it's just a.
Yeah. In effect, it could have been because it was so boring. I was checking my phone because it didn't even get me riled up, annoyed. It was just non-entity. It was boring, dull. For a third episode of a program, the first one you got me so riled I was angry. Second one just grinding my teeth. This one, even for something I hate, it didn't even actually stuff.
Doesn't even inspire anger in me anymore.
It
It's
didn't
just
inspire anything. That's the point. It inspired nothing. Didn't inspire hate, despise. It just inspired uninteresting nothing. Didn't even despise. I didn't even uninteresting loathe it. Just uninterested. Didn't care. Way or the other.
this is somewhere between the watching paint dry and just sitting at an autumn evening, just looking out the window, just watching the
No,
rain go down
no.
and the drop.
No,
And
no.
I would say
Because
watching
that
out
can
and
be
looking at
interesting.
rain, because that's more interesting.
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
what I'm
it's
saying. Watching paint dry, yes, but watching the rain could be interesting
yeah.
because you've got
But
scenery
I'm
out there.
saying it's somewhere bit below that, because you'll do it for an hour and then you go, had good thought, had good recollection. It's definitely not on the rainy evening, autumn stuff, but no, there's just like complete lack. There is not a single actor that is charismatic to bring something in. And if we think of what I perceive as charismatic, an idea of someone that you might actually get involved in, to understand, okay, you're telling me a story, bring me along, tell me what you got. Boss
Mhm.
level, Frank Grillo. Never
Yeah.
heard of the guy before, never seen the guy before. Immediately, straight from second one, someone is trying to assassinate him
It's
in
interesting
the bed in the morning.
and as it goes on, the story gets better.
The story actually evolves. You go, so, okay, he's in trouble. And he seems to go, he's kind of nonchalant about it. He's just going, For him, by the time we join it, it's 140 days that he's relived exactly that same morning. But you get the steps, so you get to catch up with him. That's where charisma of a character is holding something whilst you're being caught up where you should be, because you have his charisma, you have a reason to go, okay, I hear what you got to say. You got 10 seconds. Oh, so I'm jumping out this window. You see that truck? I missed it 15 times and it hurts like hell.
Mhm.
And then you reset again and he's waking up in bed and
But
you
that's
just go,
the thing. That is an interesting thing. And the problem is, this doesn't even fall into the same category as the title screen for it. Even the title screen, it just says the end, whatever, or fade out, nothing happened. That's the problem. There's literally, this episode was so boring. It wasn't even boring enough to actually hate.
exactly.
So
It's turned to
am I
such
looking forward
blandness.
to next week? Let's put it this
Well,
way.
I'm aiming, so I will be jumping ahead of you, but
I know you
do
will.
like
I'll be
this
only a
discussion
short
because
forward next week.
I'm enjoying it from the book discussion, because you're bringing to life so many of the characters from the book
Mhm.
that the TV show is sadly making me forget. But I'm
Yeah.
aiming to have my season 1 review, and I will try to not scream too much,
Mhm.
but I'm trying to get that out because it should be done by Christmas, and like giving a Christmas present back to all the chats and everything.
Well,
They'll get some content to see from
there's
me.
how many episodes is it? 6 or 8 episodes
8.
for season 1.
So 6 is coming out this Friday. So what is it? 17th, and then just before Christmas. And I will kick it out as soon as possible. I will literally, as soon as I finished it, then it's like I'll do my rant and rave,
Yeah.
upload the video, and I'll ignore it. I'll take the Christmas off.
Yeah, but the problem is I could actually do a rant and rave about each episode. However, it's just the idea of actually watching more than one episode a week or a
Oh,
day.
Shadiversity is having 3-hour rants per episode. Well,
I can
I'm not sure
understand
if
why.
it's for all of them, but for episode 5, I believe the rant he had on his night's watch, that was 2 hour 52 minutes.
Yeah.
And I feel so sorry for him, because he's just sitting there, he's like, why? Why?
Yeah, I can understand why. But I'm actually getting round it by watching What We Do in the Shadows, and I'm on season 3 of that.
No, I'm staying purist, because I don't want to mix a good film, good TV series, good comic book, good fantasy book, good audiobook. I'm watching nothing but YouTubers at the moment, because I don't want to conflate this horrible
No, that's
history
I
with
am
anything.
cleansing my palate with good stuff, getting rid of this. Once I've watched it, I'll just go into something else.
Yeah.
and forget about it.
In terms of good stuff, place number 3, Friday Night Tights. Place
I've not
number
even
2,
watched that
Critical
yet.
Drinker. Place number 1, PJ Mavis live
Yeah.
stream.
Exactly, but I've not watched. I've only started watching Friday Night Tights. I was on with the father and Mega Geek on Friday, which was
Mhm.
fun because, as I said, we were talking about life on Mars, and I'm sitting there going,
And we had you having the copy, the physical
uh-huh.
copy.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, next week going to be a busy week work-wise, but Saturday it's going to have to be a very quick stream because I'm up at 5:30 on Sunday. My
I
wife's
might
away every day.
shock people and start half an hour early or something.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go over because Colin streamed here. I think he started an hour ago.
Well, I think Colin started an hour ago.
Yeah, exactly. So
We
it's
should
just
probably jump
really-
over to it, and I believe
Yeah.
the
So I'm
channel
going to
is
actually
called
jump over to it. So,
FSI.
ladies and gents, boys and girls, all those in between, thank you for joining us. Cam, Edge of Time, Mr. Brown, Colin,
Colin.
and we had 2 other ones. A Polymy Minion.
Polymus Minion.
Yeah.
He must have escaped Purple's grasp.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us and commenting on our stream. But remember, ladies and gents, if you like what you see and want to see more, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Because I keep forgetting to say that. Subscribe. But thank you very much. And remember, I'm not old, I'm classic. Myself and Jim the Viking. See you Wednesday.